It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 126 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch, and apparently there's a show starting in our chat.
It's okay. I actually was enjoying the conversation. That RDJ thing about Dr. Doom is pretty interesting. I will have to I do have a Detroit hat that Bob keeps telling me I should be wearing, but it is funny that they talk about it's one of those things where it's like, thanks for reminding I need a hat.
Yes, that's happened a couple of times that Mel has looked over in the chat and was like, oh my God, I got to put my hat on. So
thanks guys for it felt very plain. There was so much like awesome stuff that went on during wrestling that I didn't want to overshadow it. And like over the top hat.
How thoughtful.
It's just I'm thinking about the people and the wrestlers here and
very kind of you.
The promotions, because everybody watches Powerbombshells, and I don't want to overshadow everyone.
Of course not.
So
such a gracious host.
I am. It's how I roll.
Daza said there was a Fraggle.
Sorry. You go.
There was a Fraggle song. You can't do that without a hat.
I believe it. I should go look that up. I probably heard it. I liked the Fraggles okay, but we won't get into the ethics of the Fraggle situation because there's a lot of like Bob and I have like big long conversations about like philosophically about the Fraggles and what is existentially wrong with the entire situation. So
it's definitely a show for another day. When we always talk about having shows that have nothing to do with wrestling, that would definitely be an episode.
There's so much to be said about Fraggles and the entire infrastructure and their socioeconomic structure and so forth.
Yeah, so. For sure.
But I tended towards the Muppets.
Yes. I watched both. I loved both of them. So
yes, I liked the Fraggles, but I was a weird kid.
Hi Eddie, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Brad says that Kathy said show 126 already. Right, Kathy? Sometimes I'm surprised that that's where we are too. And I had to go. I thought we were at 126, and I had to go look. And I was like, "Yeah, this is 126." It's like
I'm glad we're still keeping track in our notes because
me too.
I'm glad you gave me the idea about the description.
Yeah, because I was like, I understand why they took it out of the graphic because to make the graphic bigger with our stuff. But I just like, well, in that way, if I'm making a reference to something like, oh, well, you can go back to episode 119, like that they're like, well, where is 119 at? Well, at least it's not. I was like, it's not in the image anymore, but I was like, at least it's in the description. So I don't know. Yes. I prefer, or even if you and I are like, hey, we talked about this. Like let's go back and clip this where we talked about where Motor City Machine Guns were going to end up. So let's go find that episode where we talked about it. So like it would be easy. I prefer to have it numbered. So I was like, well, at least we can do it in the notes, and then we have it on our show notes so that we can keep track of it.
Yep. We keep track in the description. So if you're watching this back and you want to know, it's in the description. And yeah, I know 126 is a little bit crazy because it was crazy enough to get to 100. And then it's like every week I pop into our notes and I'm like, damn.
Right. And I was like, yeah, because I was writing about the other day. I was like, man, we're almost at 150. I guess we probably get close to 150. I didn't do the math. And so I haven't figured out the weeks. And I was like, well, we make it to, I was like, I guess 150. I was like, I don't know if we'll get to that before the end of I guess maybe not before the end of the year.
Probably not before the end of the year. Maybe around
early next year, I guess we'll be getting to 150, which is crazy because Ben, thank you guys for being here with us. Some of you have been with us since episode 1, and some of you have been here since, halfway through or whenever you came today. Maybe your first day. We appreciate you.
Yes.
anytime that you come and that you guys are in the chat. Even if you're not in the chat, we appreciate you too. And that there's still some Fraggles discussions going on in the chat.
Well, it's a pretty deep. I mean, you can get in the weeds.
You can.
It's there's a lot,
Yeah, Daza says, did you know every country had different human characters on Fraggle Rock based on their culture? That makes sense that they did that.
It does. I do love Muppet Babies.
I do love Muppet Babies too, yes.
I'm pretty sure there's nowhere to watch Muppet Babies, though, because of all the Star Wars content and the crossover and stuff. But now that Disney owns them, I think, are they on Disney Plus now?
I'm not
I'm
not positive. And then we also have USVA guy who is keeping us on track about the wrestling.
Thank you.
Skoda will win the G1. I've only made it all the way through night 4. I haven't gotten to night 5 yet. And I think I think night 6 has happened as well. Night 4, I had been keeping up with it. I'd been keeping on track. And then I was at a wrestling show on Friday night. And then I'm trying to get through Death Before Dishonor. I've watched, which we'll talk about in a little bit about Death Before Dishonor. So I'm trying to get that finished. Then I'll start going back to get caught up on the G1. Thankfully, we're at the part of G1 where there's only 5 tournament matches per night instead of all 10, which is nice.
Yes,
Especially when I'm trying to get caught up.
My favorite thing, though, is the episode function where you can go right to the block matches if you need to, because that's really cool.
Yeah, there's been a couple that we've kind of skipped because they had some people that we weren't crazy about. We're just like, I don't really want to, like, we're already behind. Let's watch this.
Well, I'm trying to catch up myself, and I think I'm on I'm on the 25th.
But so I don't think actually back on night, I don't know that we've actually skipped. Nikki can tell us. I can't remember if we ended up, we might have skipped a couple from night 3 and not night 4. I don't remember, but.
Well, there's just it's like Evil versus Sonata, even in the blocks. I'm like, like I don't watch, that one's on. Like I leave the block matches on, but like a match like that.
Oh yeah, we skipped the other night. We skipped the matches at the beginning. Like my time is already pressed. So
that's what I'm saying.
I have time to watch. So I don't have time to watch the opening tag matches and things like that.
And it doesn't get important to watch the undercard matches until towards the end anyway.
That's
like,
true.
I feel like so you've been through the Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr. match then?
Yes.
That's why I'm free to spoil that then.
Naito versus Zack Sabre. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah, we've watched the first 4 nights.
Yeah, so that was night 1, night 1 or 2, I think. So
yes, so we did see that.
So that was a big deal.
Oh, yes, we did see that. Yeah. Okay, yes.
That was a huge deal because that is like, I mean, Zack is my favorite for like, that's like my big heart pick for, the whole tournament. That's who I want to win the tournament. And that was a big setup win beating Naito. So, spoiler.
But it's also been pointed out that usually when the favored person beats the champion, they do not go on to win. So,
but I've enjoyed the tournament overall, though. I've enjoyed like the tournament and the blocks and the time limits and
me too.
I've really enjoyed and the booking. Not just having Callum Newman and Oleg Bolton just eat losses right off the bat. And honestly, like,
my bracket is way busted, but
off the first night, like a bunch of people that first night, you couldn't have imagined that all those people were going to win that won.
Yeah.
It's because it seemed unlikely. And I think that we all went into this and President Tana said that he was gonna be like looking towards the future, and
he's not gotten rid of all of the House of Torture shenanigans because they're still doing them.
Yeah, I think they need them for the. They've at least, I feel like they've dialed it back enough that it's not too dominant. And I mean, Bullet Club and they always are gonna have like a little, but. I feel like at least they're more focused on the matches. Like it's the best they've done in a long time. And I really, 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 really like Walker Stewart on the broadcast.
Too.
He is bringing back the feeling that like old school Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton, that like he's like a really good, what people don't do much anymore. He's like a play-by-play guy. Even when I'm not exactly watching close, one of the things that Walker does that a lot of people just have completely just abandoned is that he's explaining the match. He's like a real play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
He's there like telling the story and talking about the match and talking about the moves and stuff. So you can look away like you could a football game and the person's describing it to you like if it was on the radio almost.
Right.
He has a real way of that. And it's like, I'm constantly reminding him, like, this kid is 21.
Which is insane.
Like, he has a great voice. He has a great presence. I love when ELP gets on the microphone.
Me too.
People.
I will say I really enjoy him and ELP together. And even I think from what I've seen, Callum was only on there for the one night.
That's the one I'm on. So
that's as far as I've got. And so I got through Callum's first night. So Callum was pretty night. Yeah, so Callum was pretty solid. Too. I thought I enjoyed him on there. But yeah, Walker is great. He adds so much to the show and he's so knowledgeable and you can tell that he wants to continue learning more and that he like strives to do really well. And so I really appreciate all the effort and stuff that he puts into it for sure. I think he's been great. And then him and Chris are really, when they're, they're really good together too. So I just really enjoy that team a lot. But yeah,
he's been a lot. Great. I'm thinking about him now and I'm like, he's this young. He's just going to get better and better if he keeps up.
Yeah. If he's already this good at 21,
he should be teaching, like, he's going to be teaching people in 5 to 10 years. And he should be, because I think he's bringing back the real kind of that feel that makes wrestling feel real. The thing that you like about Japanese wrestling, especially, is they get that more real feel to it.
Yeah.
Of course, we understand where we live, but it's, they have that much more sport feel to it, which I like a lot more. I mean, that's why I lean towards the Japanese thing too. I mean, I need to, when I'm done with this, I'll have to go back and watch the Noah stuff. So at least I'm like, listen, I'm watching a couple of Noah wrestlers in this tournament, so relax. Right?
There you go.
Totally abandoning it. I'll get back to it. I promise.
There you go. Brad says that he says his bracket is still 100% intact. He learned his lesson to fill out the bracket after the matches, not before.
Oh.
And he said that he also does the same for the NCAA tournaments. He has a 5-year perfect streak going. Makes so much sense. Should come to Brad for your bracket needs. And we have also been informed that where's the thing? That Muppet Babies from 2018 is on Disney Plus. And Nikki made let me go back up to it real quick. That she said she wants to watch Muppet Babies, but JD Oliva was saying that Disney Plus probably doesn't have it because of all the copyrights of the songs that they used.
They had so many movies, and because they're for a long time, everyone thought it was the Star Wars references because there was a ton of Star Wars stuff in there. Mm-hmm. But now Disney owns that. But they made references to so many other like songs and movies and music. Like, I'd love to get my hands on the originals. It's like the old Beastie Boys albums. Like those can never be made now because of rights.
Right. Right.
And that's why artists like work together now to collaborate to do songs together. They have to do it so that it doesn't like to create a whole new song and stuff. But it's, those were so good. I guarantee, I agree with JD. That's something that I've talked with my friends about, and we think it's rights fees, like right stuff too, that they don't own. Yeah. As much as Disney owns, they don't own everything. And Muppet Babies reference everything up to that.
It's like The Simpsons.
Just
referencing all kinds of things.
But their problem was they like cross-cut the stuff in there, and that was before companies were as like rigid about
right
showing, like, if you showed a scene from Die Hard in your thingy, well, they don't own that, so sorry. And Paramount's like, or whatever, whoever it was, that's like, not a chance. Yeah, if you want to show that, you can pay us $8 billion every time you show it.
Yeah, right. Daza says they may be on this platform, wink wink.
Well, yeah.
After the show, there's a search function that may help you find some things that you didn't realize were there.
All I can say is "arg," and that's all I'm gonna say. But yes.
And apparently Brad has pointed out that it took decades, but Homicide: Life on the Street has finally got their right straightened out and will finally be streaming. Oh, I didn't realize that they did. That's awesome.
It just happened. Someone dropped it because, like, I didn't realize there were other people out in the world that love that show as much as me. And Jeff Hawkins is someone that loves it as much as me. Like, I told people to leave me alone on the day that show ended. I was like, I had a sign on my door that was like, "Do not knock on this door during this time." It's like, and it's been decades, and it's like, oh, I can't. There's nowhere to watch it. And I'm sure that you could get it like whatever, but
yeah,
Peacock is gonna have it coming up at the end of the summer.
Oh wow!
And
Very
I'm
cool.
just like, I know you can buy it on DVD because someone in our, because again, this is a big deal for our TV Discord channel because
I'm
a lot
sure.
of us, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many more people that like this, like me. And Kevin Neely put it perfectly. He said, Homicide walked so The Wire could run. And that's David Simon. And
Right
I've actually...
Right on cue.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and I haven't watched The Wire, but I read Homicide: Life on the Streets, and David Simon was a reporter for the Baltimore Sun.
Oh,
and
okay.
So that's why all his stuff is set in Baltimore. I've been to all of like the bar and the waterfront and stuff of Baltimore.
Oh, cool.
That's why when the bridge went down, that was like, oh, because I used to drive into the city on that bridge, and it freaked me out because now it's weird for me to even think about it in my mind. It's been forever, but I have friends that still live there, and it's like, but we used to go because I went to school in DC and I was there. It's a 45-minute drive. So I used to go hang out there all the time. You could take the water taxis all around the harbor, and it's a great town. Like, it really is.
Yeah.
Like, Edgar Allan Poe is buried there.
Yeah.
Fun, spooky stuff like that. So, but yes, so David Simon was a Baltimore Sun reporter. I tracked the book down when I was watching the show and read it.
Oh, cool. That's so cool.
It was good. It's a lot like, oh God, there's another crime writer just like that. And it's not like Grisham or somebody like that, but I'll think of it. It'll come to me. I'm not going to push my brain because it'll make it worse, but all of his shows are good. I know people love Oz. I know people love The Wire. So
Daza said that he read the Homicide book, and the bit where they never saw the murder of the girl really stayed with him.
Yep. And with that poor detective that was essentially Bayless's character, I think. So, but yeah, that was hardcore.
Brad says that Disney finally added a Hulu hub a few months back, meaning MASH is on Disney because they're on Hulu in the US, which means that Klinger is officially a Disney princess.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my God, I finally have a Disney princess. MASH is one of my favorite shows of all time. Also, because I'm a native New Englander, Cheers is one of my all-time favorite shows. I know it was an American thing, but like living in the region, especially, it was you're talking about my backyard. Like, these are people,
right?
I knew everyone at that bar, even as a kid. Like,
of course, yeah.
In my real life, like, we all knew those because that bar was full of people we all.
Yeah, I can imagine that they were.
So it was really, really relevant if you were regional.
Yeah, sure.
But the whole world liked it, or like not the. Well, I don't know. It was kind of global because I can remember people like Sam saying that he went abroad and people would talk to him about Cheers. But it's crazy. But it's funny how that classic TV. I would sit and watch like Nick at Night with my grandparents and stuff, and we'd watch like.
Nikki and I watch old shows all the time. Or
I love that stuff.
So. Yeah, Nikki still does a bit more than I do, but yeah, we used to watch a lot of really old Nick at Night stuff and watch like a bunch of really old Three's Company is one of our favorite shows.
That's
still.
a great show.
And but we watch, and of course we've seen like every episode of the Golden Girls like 9 million times.
Oh yes, me too. And Designing Women.
Yes. Yes, Designing Women. Yes, and because I watched it when it was on, and then, or like I watched it some when it was on, but then we've gone back.
I
and
watched the
some.
reruns of it mostly.
I've watched some reruns of it, and then
I love I mean, Golden Girls is classic stuff for girls
is.
anyway.
Of course.
You know, what's the one with Tootie and
Facts of Life.
Thank you. The Facts of
Nikki
Life.
and I went back and we watched reruns of that a couple years ago.
Do they hold up?
Some do. Some are dated, which is bound to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but yeah, some of it does.
Because I mean, it's always amazing to me how much like things like MASH.
Well, and then you see, even like All in the Family and stuff like that. You see how much Norman Lear, like all the stuff that he was telling stories about decades ago, still are things that families are dealing with, people just in general are dealing with still. And like you just see how like Norman Lear was really tapped into so much stuff, and
that show blows my mind every time I watch it. And I've seen some of the episodes, I watch them and I'm like, I've seen this every time, and I'm still like, dang man, we even like, but it also makes me mad because that's like what, the 60s, the 1960s, that's the previous decade, and we're still like, really? Like this should not, like we should be past some of this.
We should, but yeah.
Even Laverne and Shirley, which was one of my favorite.
Yeah, Nikki and I we went back and we watched Laverne and Shirley.
And that is like, damn, dude.
Yeah. Yes.
Because some of that stuff, like, and now we're going like some of with the legislation going backwards and stuff. It's like,
God, yeah.
Are we gonna have to like Laverne and Shirley this shit? Because
apparently so.
I will put a giant M on my sweater and get a pitchfork. Okay,
right?
Like seriously,
I'll get a matching one. We'll do it.
There we go. We can go together.
Yes.
I'm close to Wisconsin, so.
There you see. There you go. Nikki said she loved Nick at Night. Nick at Night. That's what she thinks. She watches so many reruns now. And then Brad, which I've seen Brad talking about this on Twitter, that he started showing Kathy movies from the 80s, like Never Ending Story, Princess Bride, Back to the Future, The Witches, Roger Rabbit, and a couple more. And she has really enjoyed them, which is so
awesome.
Cool. I love
those.
That.
All of those tend to hold up in my opinion, and those are excellent. Gosh, I need to go back to that because wait, what was that?
What?
Go back to that list real quick because one of those things was it was Back to the Future. So my town in the next few weeks, I think I posted this on Twitter, is we have a little clock downtown. It's not big like the one in the movie. Right. We have a little clock. That's the town clock that's been there forever. And we have a little town square area that's like a major area where like Santa goes, and I mean the tree is there and the whole thing. And they're literally having a rededication. It's like 125 years old.
Oh, cool.
Of the town clock. And all I could think of was
Kushida.
I think I posted it on my Instagram because I was like, I can't help but think. And Brad had just mentioned Back to the Future, and then that popped up on the Parks and Rec website, and I was like, this is hilarious. So we're having our dedication. I've got my, I'm just ready. I'm just gonna be ready.
That's so great.
I wish there was a midnight under. What is it? Midnight under the Sea of All or something like that.
Right.
Oh, it was fantastic. Those are great movies. It's cool that those movies can be shown to kids today.
Yeah.
And
I can't even remember the last time that I've seen Never Ending Story.
It's been a long time for me, too.
Been a very long time since I've seen it.
Despite the fact that I have Ned Stark riding Falcor on my Facebook cover that my friend made for me. We have lots of Falcor jokes. Falcors are one of our favorite dragons.
As they should be.
Such a great dragon. And yeah, that's where like retro Powerbombshells retro time.
Yes. And unfortunately, I was like, I was just thinking, I was like, great, I get to transition into this story, but
you're like,
we're not going to spend a long time on it because there's not a whole lot to tell. It's just Vince being Vince and trying to use whatever little power he has left. And so it's a little quick thing. just wanted because we have been talking about it, we do want to mention it briefly, and then we have plenty of other more exciting things to talk about than this. But so a few days ago, well, actually, let me back it up. So recently, Janelle Grant her team filed a bill of discovery to try to basically get her medical records from Dr. Kolker and Peak Wellness in Connecticut. They are the go-to doctor for WWE employees and talent, or at least they were at the time. We're not clear if they still are. And she was receiving supplements and IV drips that she was not sure what was in them, and they're only giving her partial medical records. So she is compelling to get her full medical records to find out what was put in her body. And so Vince McMahon took exception to that, or at least his team did. And so they have now filed a motion and they are trying to have the court-ordered stay of the lawsuit lifted that was filed because of the lawsuit, or let me reword that. They filed a motion to have the court-ordered stay of the lawsuit lifted. And the statement here from Vince's lawyer says, today's motion is in response to Miss Grant's flagrant violation of the federal stay order. After telling the federal court that she would pause her lawsuit, Ms. Grant immediately violated the stay order, seeking one-sided discovery for her own benefit. Her lawyer told the media that the information sought in the new Connecticut state action is to assist our claims in the federal action. We are asking the federal court to ensure that the plaintiff abides by the court's order, and if she does not, I was trying to misread that. If she does not, that the civil contempt financial sanctions may result. And so it says McMahon is asking the court to not allow Grant to use any of the materials that could be discovered through those medical records, which is big red flag.
You can't block discovery, guys. It's not a thing.
No, it isn't. Oh, good. I had this tweet because I reached out to Janelle's team, and I had it pulled up, and then Twitter just played me and moved it. So here we go. So I reached out to Janelle Grant's team regarding this new motion, and the response that I got from Ann Callis was, we did not violate a federal stay by filing a state action against a non-defendant. And so I wanted to add that sources say that the bill of discovery was not filed against the defendants of a federal lawsuit, but against Dr. Kolker and Peak Wellness. So they didn't violate anything because neither of those people are the facility, and the doctor are not named in the lawsuit. And so her team didn't do anything wrong. And they also said, the sources have also said that the bill was filed as a state action in Connecticut Superior Court, not in the federal court. And this is also not a violation of the state, according to sources. So this is just an attempt at Vince to try to scare her once again and tell her. And it sounds to me, just based on that reaction, that he's afraid of what's going to be in those medical records.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to block the process. This is the thing, is that so this is an ongoing case regardless of the in-court portion of it being stayed. Discovery is for people that don't understand or don't know, discovery is where both sides go out and collect evidence, and they have to share it with each other. If I go get a psychiatrist to examine one of your witnesses, I have to tell you who he is. I have to provide you with all of his background. So they're continuing the case. The staying of procedure in court does not stay the process of discovery, because this is an ongoing case. So both sides should be, Vince's side is showing their ass, actually, because what they're saying is, we're doing no discovery. We're not looking for any evidence. We're totally relying on the fact that we're going to get this either settled or thrown out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's doing exactly what he did with the love letter bullshit, even in the thingy where he's saying, no, it was her. No, she did. And even more, So his whole thing was, I don't have to pay her any more money because she violated the NDA. This is the same exact move.
Right.
This is the same thing, except
so he's just trying the same old tactics that he's been doing all along.
It's the same thing.
And so that's why I was just like, when I saw it, I was like, of course he is. And
it's not a violation of the law to continue following the procedure of the law.
Think that if Ann Callis has done as well as she has done so far, you think she's going to screw it up doing something like that? If it was going to violate anything?
So your lawyers are trying to get the stay lifted, which was the stay was requested not by anybody locally, but by the Justice Department. The feds.
Yes.
Said, hey, can you guys hold on for a sec?
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, but we need to
some
stop
important things that we need to do first.
Right.
Please hold. Be on standby. We'll circle back to you.
You can keep doing all the procedural. This is what is funny about this is that instead of doing their own discovery, they're filing anti-procedural briefings. Like this shows you how inept his legal team is and how they are like, this stuff is all like everything they're doing, even to block her, is admissible in court. Like Ann Callis can say, and then when we did try and follow the process, they tried to, their only response was to block the process. Like, they're trying to stand in the way of the process of the law, not like this is, and they're literally, it's funny because they are banking. You can clearly see from their strategy is we're going to get off on a settlement or a, or like, wow. The arrogance.
Yes. I mean, we already knew how arrogant, like you can just see this man is just as arrogant as ever. He hasn't changed.
Are you serious with this? This is this is a moment, and I don't like to, because I'm not, but as the kids say, bro.
Yeah. I think he's also still trying to play the public court of opinion for the people who actually who still believe him. Because they're like, oh, and now she's making up lies against a doctor. She should be sued by the doctor for defamation. She didn't say anything. All she said is she's trying to get her medical records.
She just wants her medical records, which she has the right to have under the law. Like, it's so funny because all these same people were probably running around during the pandemic, like screaming HIPAA, misusing what that actually is.
Right, because they don't understand.
Because they don't understand what the Healthcare Protection Act is. Like, they have no idea.
They don't.
So you were like, you can't tell me to wear a mask because HIPAA, but this woman can't compel a so-called medical facility.
Yeah.
To get her what she is rightly entitled to, her medical records and what was done. Yeah. That's basic stuff. Like, it's right in the, like, she could do that if there wasn't a case again.
Yeah, right.
I could get a lawyer right now. If someone was withholding my healthcare records.
Yes.
And compel them to get my lawyer to be like, you need to give that to her.
Yeah, exactly.
For nothing, anything like this. Because
it's just
they're not giving them to me.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, he's scared. He's afraid of what's going to be.
Scared.
Because I can only imagine what Peak Wellness and Dr. Coker and what they're gonna, if they even have complete records, but it just sounds to me like he's terrified of whatever's in there, and people are gonna find out what. They do. Yeah. I was like, they're going to make, I was like, this
you would have been better off just handing over some record.
Yeah. I was like, this looks like
with a bunch of redacted BS or something. You would have been better off just giving them something and letting this pass than doing what you're doing right now, because you're actually making a bigger case that you're guilty AF.
Right. And if I am a WWE talent or employee who has ever seen that doctor or been to that facility, it makes me want to double check the records that I have. And if I don't have any, that I also would compel my records and make sure that I have those. And he's a celebrity doctor on top of that. And we mentioned who he's treated. treated.
Are you kidding
or
me?
has
If
been to
I'm
his
talent
facility.
over there, I'd be
There's
walking
Shaq.
in there right now.
There's Paul Rudd, Jeremy Piven. There's all kinds of names, and those were just a little selection of names. That's not everybody. So if I've ever been in this facility for any reason whatsoever, I would want to make sure I have my full medical records from this facility.
Jeremy Piven, who played the essentially like character of Ari Emanuel, essentially in Entourage,
Right. Who also, once again, I will point out, was named and speaking out by several women.
Just it bums me out so much because it's not even like, I mean, I watched Entourage and I thought the show was really clever, but I really, 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 I'm actually gonna like go back and just separate.
And I think I said speaking out, I meant Me Too.
Me Too.
I realized I said
he
out.
was, but
Me Too is what the correct.
PCU will always be one of my favorite old school movies, but yeah, it's interesting, the tangled webs.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I know if I was talent, I'd be like, I want my medical records from you, jerk, too. Because when I leave my doctor, I have everything I need. I have notes. I can go on my portal. I can look at my, you know what I mean?
Mine is all digital, like right there in my digital records.
We are legally obliged to, they have to give us.
Yeah, and they even ask all the time, they're like, do you want me to print it out? And I'm like, no, if it's in my digital, then no, that's fine, because I don't want to have a stack of paper. I mean, if I needed it, of course, but I was like, but they ask me literally every single time I'm getting ready to leave. They're like, hey, do you want a copy of it? And I'm like, no, if it's in they're like, it's in your portal. And I'm like, that's fine. But they ask literally every single time. So people who aren't doing shady things will willingly offer you your records because they're supposed to.
People who are being transparent with their healthcare, yeah,
right, with the services they provide you.
Well, and then to go to this length is just a little bit. I mean, again, like you said, they're definitely scared. It just, to me, that's like, they really just are banking on getting out of this by settlement or dismissal.
Yeah, and then like Ann Callis was like, her statement. I mean, like her statement was literally like a sentence, because she was like, basically was just like, I don't have time for this. Like,
she shouldn't. She doesn't. Yeah. She's busy trying to work this and many other cases. It's not like this is her only probably case. I mean, this is a huge one, and there's a lot of moving parts to cases.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know, man. This is classic WWE shenanigans where they like 100%. Instead of like, again, they would have been better off like giving her even just a fake record.
Well, she has, from what I believe what the original thing said, she has a little bit of records, but she doesn't have enough to know like she does not know what was in those supplements. And when she asked about them, she was told that if she didn't trust him, they had bigger problems. And then when she questioned him about the IV drip, and the IV drips made her feel bad, they didn't make her feel good. She asked again what was in them, and they're like, oh, it's just your body's tolerance. Your body can't handle it. Well, can't handle what? What is in there that you are giving me that is making me feel ill? Like, so. Yeah,
dude, there's so much out there. Like, as someone who's had lots of different things go on with my people, I know like everything. I would know that almost no doctor of any kind of like pharmaceutical like drug in any situation has been like. Most of them will explain it to you. They're happy to do it. They're glad you're interested. They're like, wow, you're interested,
right?
Like. It's just nuts. This whole thing is, I think well played by Ann Callis, actually, is what I think. Because she not only is keeping it in the media in the right way for Janelle, she made them look like assholes.
Yeah.
In like the best possible way. Like,
yeah. Like literally just a 1-sentence response. And she was like, this is all we have. This is our statement.
So, I mean, they're winning in my opinion in terms of like, because they're doing it right. And they are, it's just, I'm going to go 1 point Ann Callis, 0 WWE at all. So,
yeah.
That's my scorecard right now.
Yeah, I think the scorecard is probably way higher for Ann Callis. That's why with everything else.
I mean, she's good at this
I don't
for a
think
reason.
Janelle could have found a better team.
I'm really glad
behind her.
This woman knows what she is doing, and I've actually read her bio, and she is an incredible.
Yeah, and BJ BJ when he was on here told us some stuff about her, and she's just incredible.
Impressive.
She's very impressive.
Yeah, keep doing this.
I have faith, guys. I have faith in Janelle's team.
I do too. Yeah, keep doing this stuff, guys. It's really you're really helping your case.
Yeah, right. So that has been the update of what is going on there. We wanted to just make sure that we mentioned it since, again, we've been talking about this case, and I know that some people are getting fatigue and they're just not, they've moved on. Well, they moved on a long time ago and are not talking about it. So we want to make sure that it's being talked about because it's important. This is a really huge case that could have monumental consequences on the wrestling industry depending on what happens. So we will definitely keep you updated on what's happening as we find things out, because again, like we said last week, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of when there was a federal grand jury subpoena on Vince McMahon. Was August of last year. So we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary since then. So things could get interesting really fast, or they could even ask for an extension. There's that too, which means that means that they're still working. So this is not going away, no matter how bad Vince, WWE, and John Laurinaitis want you to think that it is. So
yeah,
I guess,
and we're not going to stop because we believe that it needs to be talked about. So
definitely.
Thank you for participating in that portion of the program.
Yes. So on to more positive things to talk about. This week was the big blood and guts match for AEW, and a lot of people were kind of not sure how this blood and guts was going to play out because of the teams involved and just kind of how it had been built. And so I was pleasantly surprised with the match. The match was a lot more fun than I expected. It had a lot of storyline parts in it that I thought were really good. I do think I saw somebody point out that Swerve and Hangman kind of overshadowed what was happening, just because that story is because people want that match so bad. And now we know that Swerve has other things to do with Wembley. And so what did you think about Blood and Guts?
I actually thought it was awesome. I was really impressed. And I would say it didn't. I think it built just right to where they are and where the divergence between AEW, like Team AEW, and the EVPs. And I think it made, of course, people want that match. That made them want it even more, but they're going to have to wait a little longer. And I mean, they may not have to wait that much longer because the reality is there's a show 2 weeks after Wembley.
Right.
And they're going to need to book that show, and they're going to need to build storylines that tie into that show, even though Wembley is the big bird right now and it needs to be the focus. I think they did exactly what they should have done. I mean, I thought pleasantly surprised with how good it was. Like, there were a lot of really fun moments in the match.
There was a lot of really fun stuff. I really enjoyed it. I saw some people say it was the best one yet. I disagree with that.
I don't know about that, but
I would not say. I know a lot of people have recency bias, and the same thing we saw happen with MJF and Ospreay. The best match in Dynamite history. Whoa. Pump the brakes. It was a very good match, and you have a valid argument if that is for you your best match in AEW history. But then we also had Danielson and Omega, and we also had all these other matches.
Danielson, Hangman,
but I know, and a lot of
Broadway, come on,
right? I mean, and so I know people. There's recency bias for a lot of things,
of course, always.
But for me, like, I really enjoy that Blood and Guts. Definitely not my favorite one. I think I really love the second one too, but I still may go with the first one as my favorite just because it was something new and different, and so maybe that's part of the reason. But I love the second one.
And I was there in live,
of course. Yeah, but I loved the second one, and I really enjoyed this one. Brad says that to him that the ending fell flat. Would have preferred Darby getting the title shot like he did, then walk towards Jack to light him up, and then Matt quits, standing around talking at the end to end it made it feel kind of flat, which I can see. And I actually saw somebody sent a TikTok this today of this guy was watching wrestling for the first time, and it was blood and guts, and he was reacting to the part where Darby is pouring gasoline on Jack, and he's like freaking out. He's like, why are they doing this? And he's like, I don't like this. And his reaction's really great. But but yeah, I thought the ending was I was like, it felt a little anticlimactic. I was like, we did all of this for that.
Yeah.
Felt a little like, especially because what happened on the Royal Rampage, which is the same taping. So so if you have not seen Rampage yet, I'm about to give you a big spoiler.
You guys, it's like shades of the exploding barbed wire.
Like I just saw the winner on Wednesday and was already irritated and was talking to an editor about it. And so we were both like, why is this happening? And then I watched it last night and I was just like, this is so stupid. So
should I put Brad's spoiler thing up?
Sure, why not? We haven't used
it. It's been a while. We haven't used it in a while. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen the Royal Rampage.
If you haven't watched Rampage yet because you're watching Death Before Dishonor or G1 or enjoying your Friday night.
Or any number of other things that were not an hour long and on a Friday.
So Royal Rampage, which was filmed directly after Blood and Guts. Right? Keep that in mind for something that's going to happen. It was filmed directly after. They had 30 people in this match. In between two rings.
And I've seen one of these live because they did it the first time they did it. Remember, the first Blood and Guts was in Detroit. We were there. It was a few days after the first Forbidden Door. And none of us as a community here, even at Fight Game Media, we were all like, how are they going to do this? Is it going to suck? It ended up being really great. They did an amazing job with the two rings. Like, they made it work, even though Santana went out, or Ortiz. I always get it wrong, whichever one went out in that. Santana. And that was kind of like the last time we ever saw him. But like, and then the Royal Rampage, we were like, oh, are they going to be able to do it? And then it was really fun. It was like, okay, they kept up the momentum. Like, yay.
Yeah, so they used the two rings again, and the winner of the Royal Rampage gets a shot at the world title at Grand Slam, which is September 25th, I believe, into September. Okay. 2 months away.
Okay. And it wasn't for anything when I was doing it. It was just new. It was like a new thing that Tony was doing for fun.
So Darby Allin. So Darby Allin, who just got a TNT title shot at Wembley at the end of Dynamite, wins the Royal Rampage on the first match on Friday night. And so now he gets another title shot a month after Wembley. And I don't understand that. So for one, it implies that Jack Perry is going to win his match at Wembley. And secondly, you are giving Darby multiple title shots and just there's nobody else on your roster you could have given that title shot to. And what if Daniel? And I guess editor and I were talking about it, trying to figure out the logic behind it, other than Tony just really likes Darby and thinks Darby deserves because everything he did with Sting. So now he gets title shots. But assuming if we don't know obviously who's going to win at Wembley, but if the assumption is Danielson, then Danielson and Darby you're doing at Grand Slam instead of Wrestle Dream, where they're both from Washington. Which also, of course, you could do the same thing with Swerve and Darby. Swerve is also from Washington State. So then there is Wrestle Dream as well. I feel like there's all these people on the roster that could have used that spot, could have used that match, and you're giving it to Darby, who literally just got a TNT title shot because he was going to set somebody on fire if he didn't get it. And then he beats Claudio to get that shot at a month later. It makes no sense to me. Maybe it will play out But looking at it now, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And as Lady B says, who needs logic? Not wrestling fans, not Tony Khan.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking of like really thinking hard about it, and now that you're saying it, I'm not sure what.
And I think I'm already irritated because Darby should not have been in the Anarchy in the Arena match. That should have been Daniel Garcia. And the fact that Darby wasn't even cleared, really, but he was cleared enough. I'll take that back. He was cleared enough to be in the match, but then he was injured and he was right back off TV for a couple of weeks or for several weeks. And then you have Daniel Garcia, who gets beaten up. We haven't seen him. We've written him off TV. Hopefully for storyline purposes, and he's coming back, but there's also the rumors of the contract. So it almost feels like you're holding him off TV until he re-signs a contract. I don't know if that's the case. It may not be at all, but it's kind of what it feels like. Because I'm like, you took that spot from Daniel Garcia at Anarchy in the Arena to give it to Darby. Bring Darby back, put him in Blood and Guts. Then you give him the TNT title match, and then he immediately wins a shot at the world title an hour later. Like, why? Why is Darby getting all of this? Why, when you have an entire roster full of people?
I mean, the only thing I can think of again is like we have to remember that All Out is still in between Grand Slam and Wembley. Like there is a big show between Grand Slam and Wembley.
Right, the title match is happening. So it's Wembley and then Grand Slam, and he's getting shots at both.
And he's getting he's
getting title shots. So he's probably
at Grand Slam.
I didn't think Jack Perry was going to lose at Wembley anyway, but now I definitely don't think he's going to lose because I don't think Darby is going to win the TNT title and then turn around and have a title shot at Grand Slam for another title. I don't think it's possible, but then but we just did that with Swerve and Will Ospreay. We had two champions go in. I mean, obviously the international championship, the international championship was not on the line, but we just did that champion versus champion in a title match. And now we're turning around. So they could potentially do that with Darby if he wins the TNT championship, but I feel like that's not happening. I feel like, I don't know. It feels, just seeing it, just from what we know so far, of course, the way it plays out may be completely different, but just looking at it right now on paper, it makes no sense to me. Especially with the confusing, and we already have having the confusing Ring of Honor booking that happened with going into Death Before Dishonor, which we'll touch on. So it just feels like there's a lot of just booking decisions with that type of stuff that don't make sense to me.
The only other thing that makes sense, like logically, is Tony thinks that he needs Darby to put Jack Perry over in that, like to get him more legitimized.
But you don't need Darby to have a world title shot.
No, I totally agree with you that it could have been somebody other than Darby, but he's back now, and they're going to use him because he's there. He's super popular, and they still are dealing with what's going on. Like, regardless of like what we care about, and I know we don't talk about these sort of things, but like I do pay attention, and there's a lot going on with like what's going to happen with where AEW is going to end up and what's going on with WDBD right now. Like a huge deal just went through this past week, so maybe they're just trying to. I don't want to say that he's booking for popularity and ratings and stuff, but maybe he is. Darby is beloved by the fans, so maybe he's putting Darby in as many matches as he can to get as many eyes on the thing as he can.
There's Orange Cassidy right there. I
agree with you. I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah, there's people they could be building up. Bring Daniel Garcia and put him back on TV and give him one of these shots. Like, what are we doing?
And then I hate to say it, but it almost feels like there are some like business decisions, like behind, like in the weeds business decisions, I think, influencing some of these decisions.
Well,
that's just I don't know anything. I'm just my wild speculations just based on the fact that he's still running a business.
And I know there's injuries and things like that, and that plays into
and like Moxley just asked for some time off here
I hope he got his I hope he's on vacation. I hope he's getting the vacation we talked about for a year because he deserves it. But apparently, we're gonna come back to the Moxley thing too. I mean, go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, no, I was gonna try and get far enough into the Observer to read about that and just didn't. So
yeah.
No, yeah,
but yes, apparently he asked for time off. But so Lady B brings this up, which is exactly what I thought too. It says the tease of Claudio versus Brian would make way more sense, but alas, that's what I thought too. I was like, Claudio was right there. Should Danielson win at Wembley, then we would get Danielson versus Claudio at Grand Slam. And to me, that is a match I would like to see more than Darby/Swerve, or Darby/Swerve or Darby/Danielson. And if you're going to do one of those matches, hold it off and do it at Wrestle Dream when it's in Washington. I mean, maybe they'll just do a triple threat because they're all from Washington. You know, there's that too. But it just, Brad says it seems like they wanted to give Darby the title shot at Grand Slam, and winning the Royal Rampage was their way to get around him losing one title match and another one right away. I mean, probably, but the logic of getting there doesn't make any sense. And Venkin says that Darby is the only face pillar left. Until Sammy comes back, he should be. But I don't know if he's coming back as a babyface or a heel, because we saw him when we last saw him. He had turned. He was joining the Don Callis family, and then he turned on him, and then. So I don't know. Whenever they bring him, he's cleared. He's supposed to be coming back. Ty is working her way back from obviously having giving birth to their daughter. So she should be on the way back soon-ish. As well. I don't know what her timeline is either, but there's still, it'll be interesting to see if Sammy is going to be a face, because Darby is the only face of those four.
Mm-hmm.
And then technically for some people who want to include Britt as a pillar, Britt is a baby face.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
She's a baby face right now. But yeah, so that's, there's some questionable things with that. So we've got, before we even get into the Wembley matches, I will back up. On Blood and Guts, we also finally got the debut of Camille, and nobody knew who the hell she was. She got reaction. I don't know if I don't think it's because they didn't realize who it was. I think they just don't know who Camille is, and she got nothing. I was just like, because I knew who it was as soon as I was like, oh my God, it's Camille. And then they were, and Taz was even like, he couldn't get her name out. He's like, that's what's her name. What's her name? What's her name? And then, I mean, I guess maybe he was playing into it, but I don't know if they didn't tell them so that they could get a genuine reaction from them. But yeah, she just, and I hate that for her, because Camille is from what I
I was like, oh, that's a bad react.
They had no clue who she was.
No idea. They're like, who is this? Who came in here?
Yeah, I do like what they've done afterwards. So the following day was Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con, and they were doing a panel, and it was like Tony Khan, Orange Cassidy, Britt Baker, Swerve. I'm trying to remember. I've just seen a little clip.
Did Willow do that too?
I think Willow did the stuff with Adult Swim, but I don't know.
Oh, that's what she's doing.
I don't know if she did that specific panel.
Okay.
So I saw a clip, and Mercedes showed up dressed as Poison Ivy, and Camille was dressed as Bane, and they actually looked really cool. And she comes in, and her and Britt are like going at it, and they have to like Swerve is kind of like, what is happening, because it's directly behind him, and like Orange Cassidy had to hold back Britt. Will Ospreay was there. He like was trying to hold back Mercedes from each other, and then Tony said that he was tired of their shit, and he made the match official for Wembley, because Wednesday night Mercedes was like, no, I'm not not giving you this match, and then Tony was like, the fuck you
Too
aren't.
Bad. Yeah, you're having it because it's a huge match and everyone wants to freaking see it.
Yeah, it is so we do officially have that match, and so I do like the idea of Camille being Mercedes's heater, being her bodyguard, or just going in and just beating the crap out of people on Mercedes's behalf. I'm not sure if they'll add more to this, like if it's just going to be Camille, or if they'll add some more. It'll be really interesting to see. But so far, I think
that would be kind of funny if she had a little bit of a like crew.
Yeah.
Almost like in the maybe in the vein of the baddies or something, but more like muscle.
Yeah. Or even like with Swerve, like Swerve has his entourage that comes out with
Muscle.
it. I mean,
Yeah,
usually
your
it's just him and Nana,
entourage.
but you know, he did have EJ Danuka with him a few weeks ago, and he's had some other people who have been with him. So perhaps Mercedes does kind of the same type of thing, which I think could
That
be
could be
really
fun. Yeah.
cool. Yeah, especially because the women's factions have either not done well or they didn't do anything with it. Like the baddies, I think could have been huge.
It could have been great.
It could have. They did not know what they had, and
That's one of the great many. You had this thing. What did you do?
Yeah, that is definitely one. Like the baddies could have been huge for them, and then we also see like the Nightmare Collection was terrible. The execution was not
awful.
well. They stayed with it way too long. The Outcasts fell flat because they wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
they
it's
wouldn't let them do
like,
the things that they were supposed to do, and then it got old, and then it didn't get over. And a lot of it is because a lot of it I would say is because of Saraya, but they just
I think that some of these women, the way that like when you've got like Willow and Stat has been like hitting her stride, and Sky Blue and even Lady Frost has kind of been in that mix a little bit. It feels like there's like some cohesion with them,
Thunder
like
Rosa
creating.
and Deanna.
Oh my god,
Deanna.
this match was so good. I was so happy to see her. Like she looked so happy in the ring this week. It felt like for the first time she felt back to me. Like that was it felt. I mean, she felt back like she was working with another talent that was lesser known than her, but it didn't matter. And the match was really fun. And she was like, "I'm going to take you to hell with me." And she's like, it's great. It's like I'm so happy for her. Like,
and then you also have, and then now it looks like they're going to put Deanna and Taya back together, which they were like doing some stuff in TNA together, and they've had Taya help Deanna win.
Taya was
they had her win they had her help her win the lumberjack match last week. Last night at Battle of the Belts, Taya came out again and tried to help Deanna, so it looks like they're forming an alliance as well. And like Taya's match with Toni Storm was fantastic, like
really good.
They showed like, I mean, and Taya's been wrestling in ROH, but they're like 4-minute matches. Like they're not really doing anything with her, but they reminded you last night, like Taya is a force, and she's and especially getting her involved with the CMLL title because Taya went to Mexico. She spent years in Mexico.
I was going to say she was
beloved by the Mexican wrestling fans because of what she was doing. Like that's where her nickname comes from. Then there's like the La Huera Loca is her. Those fans gave that name to her.
What is it called? The Del Rio. It was like their champion forever. Like there was like
she was, and then they and
then
Deanna,
with the belts.
The Rhea Del what is it is Reina's de Reina's title? Is that what it's called?
Something in that vein. Yes,
and then Deanna held that, but Deanna has held that title as well.
Yeah.
She held it while she held the Knockouts championship. So that's when she was champ. And so like they have all, and then now you have Willow as the current CMLL champion. So like they all, I mean that. The Reina de Reina champion was AAA, but still, like the fans who follow Mexican wrestling are familiar with both of them. And then, so like, I really enjoyed like that last night's Battle of the Belts. Even though I don't like eliminator matches at Battle of the Belts, I think it's a cop out. But those three, that was the best Battle of the Belts that they've had in a really long time.
I was gonna actually ask you because.
Yeah.
So I didn't think they did a really good job of reminding me that Battle of the Belts was happening. And then it was like, oh yeah, by the way, at the end of the show, and I was like, oh crap, I have to stay awake for another hour.
I remembered because Wednesday I was watching Dynamite, and I was like, God, that means I have Collision. I
didn't see it on Dynamite.
I was like, I have 3 hours. Well, they kept saying Battle of the Belts was coming. I knew they were doing it in Arlington because they were doing that
as part of their opening thing.
The thing. So I knew it was coming, and then I was like, crap. So Wednesday, I was like, damn it. I was like, that means I've got 3 hours of live coverage on Saturday.
Yeah. So, I was like unhappy, but then it was actually really good.
Yeah, I was not thrilled that both women's matches were title eliminator matches. However, the matches themselves were great. And then 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 of course we get so it wasn't a technical title change, Brad, because this title
I was just gonna
technically
say
because
it was vacated.
Tony just ununified the titles. No, it was not official. But Thursday we were watching ROH and a graphic pops up, and it was like the winner of. So there was a 6-man match at Death Before Dishonor. It was between Dark Order and the Von Erichs and Dustin Rhodes, and the winner of that match would face Undisputed Kingdom for the 6-man trios titles, and we were like, "What?
Why didn't that happen on Death?
You ununified the titles? Like, we didn't know this was happening because the patriarch. So they've ununified the unified titles. So now the patriarchy are the AEW trios champions, and now we have new ROH 6-man champions. So they've ununified the belts. Why they unified them in the first place, I don't know. I feel like that they ununified them specifically to put them on the Von Erichs and Dustin Rhodes in Texas. I think that's the whole reason behind ununifying them. I don't think
sense.
It dawned on me when the match was like before the match was starting. I was like, that's why he ununified them. He wanted to give the Von Erichs titles in Arlington in Von Erich country, which I don't have a problem with. I'm not mad at it.
No.
But it just there was no there was no like, hey, this is what we're doing. We got that graphic and we were like, what? What is happening?
When I was watching last night, I remember Death Before Dishonor had happened, and they were having this ROH title belt match, and I was like, wait a minute, why didn't they put this on the pay-per-view?
Because what was on the pay-per-view was the winners of the match at Death Before Dishonor got the shot, which still made no sense. And we're going to get back to the ROH booking because there was some things
in
that
the title,
happened.
guys.
Oh no, well, not even just the show itself, but some of the booking leading up to it. Tony Khan got snippy with me on the call the other day.
Nice, good girl, good job.
We're gonna get to that, but yes. So, but the Battle of the Belts I thought was really good. I was really. Since I had to cover it, I was like, well, thankfully,
no, it really was.
It was good matches. I don't like the title eliminator stuff, but being on a Battle of the Belts, I think it's a cop out. I'm hoping that when this new deal comes, that means they're getting rid of Battle of the Belts because I was actually talking to my other editor last night, and he was like, why are we still doing these? And I was like, he's like, is it contract? And I was like, yes. I was like, because way back when Battle of the Belts started, there were only 4 pay-per-views.
Yeah,
that was it. So TNT or Warner Brothers, either Warner Brothers or TNT/TBS wanted a show that revolved around the titles once a quarter, and so that's why we've been doing them. And they've gone to the shows have obviously been meaningless for a while because the titles don't change. We've had vacant the one that Nikki and I were at, the TNT title was vacated by Cody because he still never been confirmed, but was rumored to have gotten COVID. And so Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara wrestled for the vacant TNT title, which Sammy Guevara won. And then there was the only title change has been was back on Battle of the Belts 3 when Scorpio Sky won the TNT championship. And then there has been no title changes since then. And now we have a vacated title so it wasn't a technical title change last night, but we did get something new with the titles, as in they crowned new champions for a vacant title.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't make sense at all, but it makes a little more sense as to what happened last night. Like, yeah, I understand what happened. No,
I really hope that with whatever this new deal is, that they just get rid of Battle of the Belts, because it has served its purpose. There's no reason to do them at all. So hopefully they'll move away.
Well, that felt very much that they know they're going to be in Arlington for the next several weeks, so they needed. I mean, that was very pandery. Now, it was a good show, but it was also
I knew. But I that's one of the pandery things that I am not mad at. Like, I loved it. It was a great moment. I'm so
no, I'm not talking about the Von Erich part. I loved it.
Sorry.
I'm so happy believe me, it was actually making me think about the fact that I actually finally sat down. We watched the Iron Claw. I know a lot about their situation. Like, I read a lot of their history. I know a lot about that. So that moment I loved. It was beautiful and wonderful. I'm not complaining about that by any means. Sure. And I think it's the right move, but it was very specifically designed to, hey, we're going to be here for the next 6 weeks.
Well, there's also more than that, because on the media call, because people are like, oh, on the scrum, he said it on the media call 2 days before. They are heavily hinting that is going to be the new home of ROH moving forward.
Interesting.
That it's not been confirmed, but Tony heavily hinted at that on the media call, that they are, because somebody asked, like, will this specific venue be the new home, or are you looking at the possibility of having somewhere like a permanent home for ROH, as like you used to do in Orlando? And he was like, yes, it's something we're looking into. Didn't give too much away, but heavily hinted at it. But then apparently, I didn't watch the scrum on Friday night, but apparently he once again heavily implied. So, which makes me think, the Von Erichs probably did sign, because I know that they were talking to them, but that the title change was not that it's going to be a short title reign, like a 5-week residency thing. If they're staying put in Arlington and running that venue, then it feels like that might be a why they did it. So it feels like they could be doing.
No, I mean, believe me, Kevin Von Erich deserves all the happiness he can possibly absorb. That guy is, I mean, that's amazing. I'm glad that Ross and Marshall are they did it on their own. It was something that they wanted to do. I'm glad that they're being successful at it. Like, it's a little
I love that the
scary
locker room
how much
came out there.
looks like they really do look like he looks like Carrie a lot. It's a little weird. It's
he does. And then,
but it's also awesome, and it's because the business is different. They can do it their way now, and they can do it the right way. They can, and without and their dad isn't going to put the pressure, and it's not going to be the same kind of thing that they went through. And I loved it. That part I'm totally fine with, and it would be smart they made Texas wrestling. Like, that is. That if you don't know the history of the Von Erichs, and you are interested in wrestling history, you need to go look. It's amazing stuff. Like, it's horrifying stuff, but they were rock stars of their day. Like, I have a friend that's a New Englander that admitted to me, she's like, I know very little about wrestling, but I did want to marry Carrie Von Erich back in in the 80s. Right. And I was like, everyone.
And so I'm like, if you know that the Carolinas are Flair country, then you should know that the Von Erichs is, that's Texas's Von Erichs country. Like, that's that's their state. And so I think having that, so I like that. And then, of course, having Dustin Rhodes, because you have there's, as Cody's intro says, there is more than one royal family in wrestling, and then we got 2 of them last night. And Dustin, I think,
I love Dustin
and I love Dustin Rhodes so much, and for him to finally get his first AEW title ever in the 5 years that it's been around, and he's still incredible. Like, and I know people, they're like, oh, but Dustin Rhodes can still go. He can still hang. He still puts on bangers. He doesn't have to wrestle all the time. Like,
he's such a veteran. He can cut a promo on a dime. He's the dude that you can, someone flakes out, you call up Dustin.
Right.
And he will cut a promo for you if you need him to. He'll wrestle whatever style you need him to. He'll play whatever role you need him to. He'll do a job if you need him to. He's training people all the time. And his hands are all over the training program back in the back.
And he has a training school in Texas that he
AEW. Okay, I was gonna say they have stuff, and don't they have family there? Like, they have
he lives in
Okay.
It lives in Texas and has
Fantastic. Well, that's even
he
better.
has a wrestling school there. Some of the AEW wrestlers go and train with him at his
Nice.
school. I know some of the women have gone and trained with him at his school. So he's very into the background of things that are happening in that company. And Lady V, I'm right there with you that she'd rather see Dustin than Jericho these days. Give him all the things.
Agreed.
I'm right there with you. 100%.
Spot on. You nailed it. Because
yeah.
you want to
that
put
guy.
a veteran on there that can bring all the freaking people to the yard. That's Dustin. And Jericho is, dude,
broke his the Suzuki broke his
that's why I'm wearing my Suzuki.
Suzuki broke his finger, which is funny because not funny, but Renee, as she's interviewing him with his broken pinky, Renee injured her finger earlier the day before. She thought she broke it, and it looked like, because I follow her on Instagram, so I watch her stories, and she was working out and she dropped a giant weight on it, and you could see when she was interviewing, you could see the scrape of because it hit the second finger too. And I guess she was having she had Doc Samson look at it. I don't know if it's broken because it's not wrapped. Maybe she just like bruised it really bad, but you could see her hand, and you could see, and I was like, she's out here talking to Jericho, and she's got an injured hand too. But I was like, bless her.
She's tougher than you, jerk.
Right. She tweeted. It was funny.
Of course, actually.
Saw her Insta story. She tweeted and said that she thinks she's like, I think I broke my finger, and Nora is sobbing in all caps because she thinks I can't cook her dinner tonight. And then says later she went on her Insta story and told what happened and why she thinks she broke it. And I was like, I guess Nora thinks that John's going to starve her. I don't know.
But Daddy can't cook. He doesn't know how to do anything but get beat up or beat people up.
Oh God, they had it. It was really, if you don't follow Renee on Instagram, you really should. And you should watch her stories because they're really funny. I mean, some of it's just, obviously just random things, but like a week prior, she rescued a baby bird that was injured, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. And then they found somebody, I guess, that could take the bird, but she had to go to work. So John was not, because I guess John had already taken time off. So John was at home, and so everybody's like, we want an update on the bird. And she was like, John helped pass the bird off to a bird, like a wildlife. Yeah. That could help. It was like a rehabilitation facility that could help the bird or whatever. And she's like, John, handle it. So John had to step in, and she because Nora had they named the bird, and like Nora was very invested in what was happening. And so it just makes me laugh because I was like, can you imagine like John Moxley having to be like, here's this injured bird.
Having his 3-year-old daughter and this injured bird, and it's like, Daddy, you have to get this bird.
Renee's off at work. Listen, John said he wanted to be a sugar daddy he wanted Renee to be a sugar mama, and Renee do all the work, and stay at home.
These are the kinds of things moms have to handle.
So now you get a taste of it. That while Renee's off at work interviewing wrestlers, you are helping get an injured bird to the wildlife facility
so that your 3-year-old daughter's heart doesn't break,
right?
Which is cute. Okay,
it is very cute. And there's
not want to see a little 3-year-old, especially that's your baby. It's bad enough as just a caregiver when they actually cry about things like that you can't control, but that's your baby. You have to let your baby down, are you? I just love picturing. Because I know that because he's talked about it before, and I know that he should just shares pictures of his kids with people. He shows pictures of her.
I'm not surprised.
And he just loves he loves his wife so much, and he just puts her over so much all the time, and it's hilarious. He's just so cute. So I know that backstage, behind the scenes, he's being this adorable. This guy is taking barbed wire bat shots in front of us. But he's rescuing baby birds for his sweet daughter at home. Yes. And it's Daddy will learn to cook. It's okay.
Daddy knows the number. Daddy knows how to use Uber Eats. It's okay.
Right. Daddy can call delivery, sweetie.
Daddy can make a peanut butter and jelly. It's okay. I know it's probably because Renee, obviously, she enjoys cooking, so she cooks all the time, and she'll talk. It's funny. She'll talk about
cooking, and because she's got I actually want to grab, because I've watched enough sessions. I've actually thought about grabbing her cookbooks a couple of times. I'm
She
hoping
said
that people like turn them in randomly, like someone gives it as a gift, and they put them into the library book sale, and because that's where you get the gems. So,
yeah. Yeah, and it was right, exactly. And so it was also that it's funny because she'll talk about like she'll cook like this stuff for Nora, and Nora's like she will refuse to eat it. She's like, I don't want this. And like her mom will be yeah, exactly. And Ray's like, we'll see if she wants it. And then like, but sometimes she posts these cute little videos, and like Nora's helping her bake pie. Like the other day she posted Nora was helping her bake a blueberry pie, and she helps her make cake and stuff like that. So like, I guess that's probably part of it. It's because that is something her and her mom do together. And now she's like, she's like, oh my God, Daddy's gonna give me something. Daddy's gonna make me starve.
He doesn't know how to open a can.
Yeah, Nikki said, I keep telling Samantha, I'm pretty sure Mox can make Nora some mac and cheese.
I think
probably. So. He can probably handle that. Mr. Mom over here is gonna have to
hilarious.
Or Renee is gonna have to make dinner before she like meal prep for them.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. She'll have to like stand with him and instruct him because her hands busted. We're gonna do prep so that Mommy can go to work. So
Daddy can just pop
we'll
it
put
in
a bunch
the
of stuff in the thing, and you just make sure you take it out in the morning and put it in the fridge so it's defrosted.
Right. Just gonna leave little instructions for him.
I mean, if he wants the job of being like having a sugar mama, and I know I've got a couple of guy friends who have told me that flat out that they would love that life and they would be happy to like clean the like if they were married to a wrestler or whatever, and be like, I'll clean her gear, I'll take care of her, she can do whatever, like whatever. But it just the whole idea of like, you know, being at home and being like the stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
The sort of what it's not really as non-traditional. I don't think it's as non-traditional as people think it is.
I don't think it is either.
People don't understand how expensive childcare is, and whichever parent can take care of the kids takes care of the kids, and that often is the dad too. And if there's a dad in the situation, however that works, like, so it's so cute. I just love it, and I do appreciate Renee's social media in general.
Yeah,
because she's so fun.
She is fun, and I
stuff about what Nora doesn't like, or like the one that Lady B mentioned about I'm so glad John, like my husband's not in this match.
Yes, exactly.
And I saw that one too.
Yeah, I saw her tweet that, and because she was like, "Isn't wrestling great?" And then she tweeted that a little bit later, and I was like, "Yeah, exactly." That she's
one of my favorite people to watch during major like hardcore matches with him, because she's constantly like, "Now I'm gonna have to clean that up," or does this really have to continue? Is this really not like she's always so deadpan funny.
Yeah,
and
she's great. Renee's amazing.
Killing it backstage.
She is.
When she like told off Hangman the other one of those.
That's why I joked. I was like, the match is gonna be Hangman versus Renee at Wembley.
I was like, whoa. She's like, and her influence on the backstage crew is being felt all over. It's the ring crew is better. The backstage crew, the interviewers are better. I think that the broadcast team is stepping up a little bit. Renee is like, she is, in terms of like the backstage crew, like the crew, the people that do all that stuff that kind of make the inner workings that we take for granted for the wrestling show. She has been really making a huge impact on it. And like, I mean, she always looks spectacular, and even, you know, Ravishing Renee, and even like Excalibur has like, he gets it.
He calls her the remarkable Renee Paquette.
He gets it. I think that he has realized what a lot of us are seeing is like, she is running the backstage right now.
As she should be. She has worked her ass off to get that spot, and she's incredible. I love
and I always loved it. The interview he did with Dave and Garrett, because he talked about it. He's like, she can do whatever she wants. She could be a broadcaster, she could be the president if she wanted. He's like, she's the greatest at everything, because they were doing a bunch of her cookbook shoots at the time, and he's like, it's terrible though, because there's all this food in my house and I'm walking around and I'm not allowed to eat any of it.
I know. So, poor Mox torturing him all the time.
That guy has the best life ever.
I would have to agree with that.
I think he is living his best life, despite what you would.
I think he is. But yeah, so but yeah, so I guess going back to some of that is what we were talking about. So yes, it appears that I have not heard all of the details, but it appears Mox has asked for some time off, which he should, because we talked about it a lot last year when he was supposed to be on vacation and had to come back to work, and we kept saying, when is he getting his vacation? When is he getting his vacation? So when I heard that, I was like, I hope that means he's finally
We talked about it on multiple Fight Game Media shows. This crosses over to the Jeff Hawkins and the
We
Dynamite
did.
Show agreed with
We
us.
did.
Kevin Ely made us a postcard.
Yes,
I have it.
I forgot about that.
I have it on my phone. That's why I remember, because there's no way I was letting that go. I'll retweet that. I'll throw that on our Instagram. You guys will love it.
Please do, because it was great.
We
Kevin
decided
Ely.
what it was like. It was Jeff and Sam and I imagined Mox at taking the girls to Disney World, and Kevin Ely gave us a postcard for
he
it.
did. That is right. Oh God, yeah, we do have to get that up on
that. I'll throw that on. I'll try and remember to get that on the Instagram.
Was the real MVP for that. That was fantastic.
That was fun stuff. But good for him. I hope he's always carrying the company. Maybe he just needs some time to relax.
I hope so.
I mean, they've got people like Will Ospreay.
He was also doing New Japan duty too for a little bit. Like he was going.
He was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion,
and he did go to Japan a couple times, and so there was that. And so I'm glad he's finally getting some time off to rest and relax, and I'm sure he has some nagging injuries and things just like any wrestler does, so hopefully that gives him some time to do, to rest up, and just also mentally, it's mentally taxing to do this type of stuff day in and day out, so hopefully he gets his time off. And then that also
pardon the expression but he's been pretty balls out since he went to rehab, and
he really he has.
That's a lot of emotional.
I don't think he's taken time off since he's been back from rehab. I don't think he's not like actual like full time off. I don't think he's had.
Yeah.
And then so that comes on the heels that Bryan Danielson has said that so before the tweets yesterday came out earlier in the week, Bryan Danielson said in an interview that his contract is up on August the 1st. That is Thursday. His contract is up, and which we knew it was coming up, but we didn't know how soon. We just knew it was coming. And so yesterday he apparently tweeted that he's been thinking, he's had a lot to think about. And he also mentioned August the 1st is his son's birthday. So we all know the story of how he told Birdie he would no longer be a full-time wrestler when she turned 7. So we've all known this was his last full-time year. He was probably going to just move down to some part-time stuff, wrestles when he wants to, which he has more than earned. And then he mentioned August 1st is my contract's up, also my son's birthday. So that was kind of an interesting parallel. And so yesterday he apparently tweeted and just said he's been thinking a lot about the future. And then AEW quote tweeted that with a picture of Danielson and said that we will hear about his future on Wednesday rather. So he's gonna address something. I assume he's gonna, because he has a title match at All Out. He's still gonna do that. So I assume it's just gonna be like, I'm signing a new contract, but it's for a part-time schedule only. You'll see me here and there. I'll be around I'll be around backstage sometimes to help out, because he was doing he was doing the Collision a lot, because he was doing the Saturday stuff in the beginning, because he told Birdie I'm just only going to work on Saturdays. I won't work during the week. I'll just work on the weekends. And so then he kind of moved away from that a bit. So I assume that that's probably what's going to happen. But I saw Brad tweet a tweet yesterday before the announcement that he was going to address the crowd. Apparently, some fans of the other company believe that because Jon Moxley's not on TV and because Danielson's contract is up on Thursday, that they are going to be at SummerSlam on Saturday. Apparently, a lot of them in the reply believe that, even though Danielson is wrestling for the title at All Out.
I'm pretty sure Jon Moxley's made his feelings about the other company pretty explicitly clear in interviews that I've heard on multiple podcasts with legitimate. Hey, our boss.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I was just like, have y'all not paid attention to what this man has said since he's been gone? Like, do you not hear the story of how he left and how he told them that he was filming something and they thought he was filming a movie and it was really that he was filming his intro video for AEW because he was not coming back. And it was like, John Moxley is very happy doing what he's doing. Brian Danielson is very happy with what he's doing. Brian Danielson is so involved in things with AEW that Tony Khan has said that if he dies unexpectedly, he would like Brian Danielson to run the company for him. Does that mean that's what he's going to do? No, but he's invested.
You don't go around saying stuff like that out loud in public to the whole world because it's going to, I mean, that's social media stuff. He also has told like all of us that Danielson's been huge on a lot of these big storylines. He's helped Tony immensely on like booking decisions. Mm-hmm. Moxley put him over huge. He talked about how if you want to talk to somebody about like, he would go ask him for book suggestions because the dude's read everything. And like it just, he actually went to him to ask about, like, should I do a WWE biography or thing? Like, because WWE wanted to do a thing with him before he actually wrote his book. This was before. Right. And he said, I went to Brian Danielson and he told me, don't do it. It's terrible. Like, and you'll hate the outcome. And because, like, and that's back in WWE. Like, that's. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been not before cool.
Came. Yeah.
Well, it was when they were both in WWE. Like,
that's right. Oh, yeah.
Because this was like WWE wanted to do one of their kayfabe type things about Dean Ambrose, and he asked Danielson, like, should I do this? And Danielson was like, no, it was a horrible experience. Like, don't do it. If you can get out of it, get out of it. Like, write your own. Essentially, basically was like, write your own book. And Moxley was like, I'll never do it. He did. I mean, but he was like, at the time, he was like, I'll never do that.
Of course, I mean, it's
he was like, no, it was a terrible experience.
John Moxley to do was to write a book.
Well, and I think that Danielson, because he is a smart person, I think that he just felt like that was a kayfabe book. That wasn't like a real book about my experiences. I think that I wouldn't be shocked. That's a guy that I can see when he does finally, like, he's doing only a couple matches a year. He could write a book, like, while he's home doing things, because
he could exactly.
He has a lot of things that he could talk about. But
the only person.
But I agree with you. I think that's coming. I think that the clock is ticking. I think the clock in the sky is ticking.
And we saw Ron had a good comment, and I've seen something similar to that before, that Danielson should win the title and do a Mickie James last rodeo storyline. That would be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of people saying that though he doesn't want to, that there's a lot of buzz about the fact that, like, just like with Sting, where they were like, you're not losing. To be a
champion. Yeah, like I said, that tweet that tweet that I read a few weeks ago where they said it's the reverse Montreal screw job where we force Brian Danielson to become champion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and I think about it every time I see him, and I feel like that's what's gonna happen. I would agree with Lady B over here that she's offered Danielson normally, but I'd rather see Swerve versus Hangman. Not sure how WWE has made me not want to see a Danielson match. So I don't want to say that I don't want to see it, because I do, just not here. I don't think this is the story to tell here, but I think that's what I still think that Nigel was the plan. I think Nigel couldn't get cleared for whatever reason.
Probably.
And they decided to go with the Swerve story instead, is what I feel is like. I feel like that's what happened, and they're going to just do Nigel Danielson next year when Danielson, because if Danielson's going part-time, he's probably going to work not all of the bigger shows, but like, not necessarily Revolution, but I could see him doing like Double or Nothing, All In, and maybe Wrestle Dream, because it's in Seattle. And it's for I
mean, I guess they could take it to Revolution like they did with Sting, and you know what I'm saying, where he says Revolution is I think that he seemed like he said that the previous Revolution, but then Sting sort of like became the one that was maybe he'll retire at Revolution, you know what I mean? Maybe they'll do the same.
Yeah, I don't think he's done I don't think he's retiring. I do think there's injuries maybe that have caught because he
I mean, I don't think he's retiring
obviously
entirely. I think you're right. I think we will
I think
see him. I just think it's
I think
going to
he's
be
going down to the
for
part-time schedule like he has been saying all along.
yeah.
But I think that he needs to probably rest some injuries because even though he's kind of I mean, he's basically of course it's Danielson and he says Cody taught him how to lie and he loves to lie. So it is you do have to keep that as a grain of salt with everything he says. But he basically said, like, if I injure this arm and don't have feeling, like, I'm done. And so I feel like he probably needs to take some time off. He needs to do some. But I expect Wednesday it'll be just like I'm barely hanging on. I'm gonna do this all in match. If I don't win, I'm just gonna take the rest of the year off or something like that. And then he's gonna win. And then I hope I don't think this is what they're gonna do, but I really hope that they don't have Danielson win it all in to have him lose to Darby at Grand Slam. I hope that's not what they are gonna do because that is a terrible fucking idea.
Oh,
I hope that's not happening.
I'm not big on that. I don't. That doesn't excite me.
No, it doesn't excite me either. So it'll be really interesting to see. So now the All In card is starting to fill out. So we have obviously Danielson versus Swerve. We have Mariah May versus Toni Storm, which I can't wait for.
Me either. That's going to be good.
And now we have Jack Perry versus Darby, which we talked about earlier in the show. And then we do officially, as we talked about earlier, we do now officially have Britt versus Mercedes because that was made at the San Diego Comic-Con. And isn't there a fifth? Wait, is there a fifth match that's been announced or was it just
Will Ospreay and MJF?
Yes. So there are 5 matches. That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
Ooh, good job.
Yes. That's happening. Wait, is it official or
yes? They made it official yesterday.
Okay. I was going to say I know that he challenged for it, and then MJF responded. But yes, that is correct.
Somebody said it was official somewhere.
I think it is.
Heard them say it.
I think that is right. So I believe we have 5 matches, right? Unless I'm. Then apparently, I guess it's not official. So we should have more matches coming soon because I guess we're gonna do. The Acclaimed won their match. We talked about this last week, how they were going to do this. The Acclaimed is still owed a match from the Young Bucks because they won the title eliminator match. But now FTR has cut this really long rambling promo on Collision the week before last. And basically they have hinted that they want to have a rematch at Wembley. So it sounds like they might be doing a 3-way at Wembley. Which
I've heard.
I am not interested in whatsoever. This is not a Wembley level match. It's maybe a Grand Slam match, but it is not a Wembley level match to me.
Or
it's not even an all-out match to me. Even I would
all hour.
Yes. Then it appears that we're probably getting Hangman versus Okada.
Although Kip Sabian did cut a promo last night, so maybe he'll end up having a match at some point.
Thank goodness, Kip Sabian. We're finally doing something with him because last year he didn't get to wrestle. They had him. They're like, "Oh, you're British, like Anthony Ogogo. Come."
Oh, and then he did.
Come talk about wrestling in England for us because you're British. We'll put you on the show.
Right.
So I'm glad to see that it appears that Kip will have, even if it's on 0 hour, he has something going on. They did put him in the Royal Rampage. He did have this, and he actually he eliminated Nick Wayne from that match, which was interesting.
They seem like they're setting up at least a singles match between the two of them potentially for some time. I mean, I don't know when but that could be an undercard match at Wembley.
I would not be mad if that's a 0 hour match. And perhaps, and it seems like they're probably doing something with Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah.
Because they brought him back into the fold. He's wrestling with Shane Taylor Promotions now.
Which is a good idea.
Like they are building everybody except
Nigel.
Well,
Emmy,
because Lorenzo will Emmy be on the All In card, at least the pre-show. It was funny because a few weeks ago I was like, it's time to start getting ready for Emmy for Wembley, and then Jeff Hawkins like tweeted it like the day after, and I was like, I was like, see, I was like, this is.
It's
It's
in
like
the
we're on the
universe.
same
It must
page.
be manifested now.
And so she's been back in Chaco Pro. I do know that yesterday, because WWE just did a tour in Tokyo. Miko Satomura has announced that she will be retiring in April, because it will be 30 years since she made her
Wow.
debut. And apparently Emmy was there, and Emmy was crying, and Emmy wants a match with her. So I'm sure that that's going to happen maybe at Chaco Pro, somewhere in Japan, not here, obviously. I assume that match will probably happen. I hope that they find something for Emmy to do, but they've basically made people forget about her. And so I don't know that they're going to find room for her. I hope that they would at least just put her, just give her a 0 hour. I don't care. Just let her wrestle there. Emmy's great, and I would rather see her than Saraya, but you know, I don't make the shows. Because if I did, yeah, and they were talking, the chat has been talking about Wembley as well. We'll go back to this, that Laurent says, have they announced the All In main event yet? Because there's a compelling argument to be made that it's Tony and Mariah should be over Swerve Danielson. Worst case, it could be a double main event. It has not been made official. We talked about this right after it happened, that we think it should be Tony and Mariah, but our fear was that it was going to be a double main event and that the women would be the first of the double main event. But I still know, regardless of whatever Danielson has to say on Wednesday, the story is Tony and Mariah. It should main event. They have earned that position. They are the best story going right now. The women's stories to me are better than a lot of the men's stories right now. The
exception of Hangman Swerve, there's like nothing else.
Yeah,
really.
It's the women. It's Mariah and Tony. It's it's Willow and Stat. It's Deanna and Thunder Rosa. It's it's these stories. It's Mercedes and Britt. Those stories, to me, all of those are more compelling. Other than, like you said, Swerve and Hangman, those are the most compelling stories to me. And I think the women have earned that spot, and I think that Wembley is a huge stage, and what better way to have women main event a pay-per-view for the first time that at one of your biggest shows of the year, with your biggest story, your longest story, and two of your best wrestlers on top of that. Like, just everything, the stars seem to align everywhere, and Tony has been so heavily involved in this story that I'm hoping that this is the main event, regardless of whatever Danielson's announcement is on Wednesday. That does make me pause a little bit and be like, is Danielson going to be like, well, if I lose, I'm retiring, so they make that the main event? And I really hope that's not what they're doing. But
yeah.
Yeah. And then, Laurent goes on to say that Tony and Mariah's story is too good and has been going on too long to not be featured at a match at All In. Yeah, I think it should be. It should main.
You can almost see it playing out. Like, I mean, like a big end flourish, like the movies. Like have a big movie ending to the Wembley show. Be a big movie ending. Like that would kind of be fun.
Yeah.
So, like whoever's triumphant, but because it's. I mean, welcome.
Hi, I saw your chat. I was trying to get to it. I didn't want to stop our conversation, but thank you for entering. We've had quite a few new people enter the chat, so we appreciate that. Thank you for joining the chat, and for if you're not in the chat and you're just joining us, thank you for that. We appreciate you being here. But yeah,
if we miss people, hello and welcome. We appreciate it.
Yes,
we always appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yes, me too.
Sam is wonderful at managing the comments.
I'm trying. David says, I want all wrestling companies to do good. It's better for all the fans. 100%, David. We want people. It's better for the fans. We want people to have jobs. It's better for the wrestling, just in general, as it grows. Even like we've talked about a lot recently. I mean, that's always what we've talked about. But even last week, we talked about supporting local wrestling if you're able to, because they are the lifeblood of the sport. Yes, it's great to support the big companies, and you should, so that they will come back and bring amazing wrestling to your town. But also, local wrestling doesn't thrive without without the local scene. And so I went to Mel went to her local show last Friday. I went to mine this Friday. Ashe did a block party, which was a really cool concept I've never seen in wrestling before. So he had vendors, so there were people there selling products and selling cool stuff. And then they had a couple of DJs performing music, and then he had 3 live artists perform, including his cousin, Craig, who he performed first, and then they closed out the show with 2 matches, which was really cool. It's nothing I've ever been to before. It was a really cool concept. And I hope that I hope it was successful for them and something that we see more of, just because it's a really cool thing. And so I got a chance to talk to Darius for a few minutes following the show to tell him that I really liked the concept. And he said it was, just always learning and trying new things. And unfortunately, Paris's bumping was canceled due to multiple reasons. I don't know the details. I just know that there was just a lot of things just made it not, just a lot of things happened where they couldn't hold it this year. They're hoping to have one next year, so they have moved. So there's no show in August, but there will be one in September and October. And then by then we're closing in on the 1 year in December. Will be a whole year of Ashe, which is crazy to think about, because I was talking to his mom and she's like, yeah, December. And I was like, oh my God, 1 year already?
Wow, that's crazy. We just it feels like we just had them on.
It feels like we just had him and Suge on to come talk about the show.
I can't even believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're able to,
I'm so happy for them though too.
Me too. I am too.
I mean, when they first showed, when we had them on at first, it was like they were just out the gate. Now they're doing stuff like that. It's really fun. And I love it.
Me too.
New stuff.
Yes. And so definitely support your local wrestling if you can, because wherever you are, they need it, because, it brings, obviously it supports wrestling, helps your community, helps wrestlers get paid, helps other employees get paid, helps, there's all kinds of, positive things that happen when wrestling is in your town. And so if you are able, even if you can't do it on a monthly basis, we know how it is. We all got budgets to work with, but even if you can only get out every once in a while, or all you can do is retweet and repost their stuff to let other people know, that's definitely something that helps your local scene for sure. I would agree. LaRon says the women are carrying AEW right now, and 1/10 of the time that the men get, maybe giving them more is the way to go. Yeah, you would think. You would think, LaRon. But and I've had that conversation with other people. Like one of my editors has said, he was like, am I wrong for thinking that the women are more I'm more interested? I was like, no. To me, I agree. The women's stories are what's carrying this company right now. And not only their stories, but their wrestling is really, really, they're having these phenomenal matches on top of that. And we even saw, we saw that with Death Before Dishonor, which we'll get to some more in depth too. But there's 3 women's matches on Friday night, and one of them did not involve a title for once, which was great too. But yes, Lady B says, I wish that Kenny was healthy enough to face Okada at All In, but I'm hopeful we'll get it at Wrestle Dynasty. You know what? I didn't even think about that being where they could do it, but that would make perfect sense, because Wrestle Dynasty is the day after Wrestle Kingdom.
And it's in Japan.
And it's, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, Lady B. Thank you for, now that you have put that in my brain, that's all I'm going to think about.
Oh, I hope he gets better by then. There's still time.
Yeah, I for me, if Kenny takes the rest of this year off, I'd rather him as healthy as he can possibly be.
Yes, of course.
And then rest up and be at Wrestle, or maybe come back right before, because obviously you gotta build the story, even though there's a built-in story with this too. But you can still have him come back, not even get physical, just have him back on screen if he's healthy enough to travel, and then build that, and I would be okay with that. And now I want it to happen, so thank you for that.
Yeah, we love Lady B. She's a wonderful addition to our crowd of wonderful people.
Yes.
She puts wonderful ideas out there.
She does. LaRon says Swerve is acting as if he and Danielson are the main event, but I haven't seen an official. There's not been one, but I guess I can understand why Swerve's the champion. Of course he's gonna be like, oh, I'm main eventing, whether he knows if he is or not. I mean, I guess that makes, and it's Swerve. It fits on brand for what Swerve does. And he should assume that he's main eventing, but I hope.
I mean, I would.
Yeah, especially that match. It's Danielson.
Well, I'm the champion. I should be
Right.
main eventing.
Brad says that he still thinks it's more likely to see Chris and Willow main event All Out, possibly in a lights out match for the CMLL Women's title. Will they main event an AEW pay-per-view with another title? I mean, they do have a relationship, so I guess there's that. But they're already having a title, unless if Chris wins the title eliminator match on Wednesday, perhaps she just challenge at All Out instead of, maybe that's how they get to that, because they have a match Wednesday and she has to beat her. That's an interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought. Yes. Laurent says that TK will probably give it to the guys. I didn't think Briscoe and Roddy should have main evented Before Dishonor over Athena. And I didn't know. They shouldn't have, because Athena has been the story the entire time. And it was much as Briscoe and Roddy was great, but Athena and Aminata was a better match. And then David said that he would to please give Thunder Rosa a match at Wembley Stadium. See, and that's the thing. They're starting to build these stories where we could see them at All In. Some of it, and that's what do you put on All In and what do you put on All Out to make people buy a pay-per-view a week later, which is Mel and I have asked that question a million times. But it's like, what matches, because you want people to turn around and spend $50 again. Like, you gotta
later.
You gotta stack it. You've got to have really good matches. So perhaps they do Chris and Willow there, and also do the maybe they do Thunder Rosa and someone against Taya and Deanna. Maybe there's something that happens. Maybe they do some sort of a match there with them. That would be really interesting. Yeah, Nikki said that she bought some art from a local artist when we were at Ashe the other day. I bought a piece of art from her too, and then there's another person that I bought soap and incense and like a roller ball perfume thing from her as well. And I was
just
like,
say no to robots.
So I told Darius, I was like, I spent like $50 in 10 minutes because I paid for ticket. I didn't buy my tickets in advance. I paid for tickets, walked in, ended up buying stuff from the first lady, and then went over and bought art. And so I was like, within like 10 minutes, it's like I dropped all the money. And I was like, but that's what I told him. I was like, I'm glad I could support the local community, but I was like, my card got to work out real quick.
Yeah. Yep. That'll happen.
But that's good. Lady B asked, what do you believe is a sweet spot on matches at All In so it's not too long? Don't ask Tony that, because that's what he got mad at me about the other day.
Is that what he got perturbed at you for?
Yeah. I feel like, which I'll get to when we get to the ROH stuff, but I think he was annoyed at me already because I think he read my article about ROH 2 weeks prior, where I'd said it had been aimless TV since Supercard, and pointed out that they've been relying too much on proving ground matches, and that Billy Starks had 5 proving ground matches but did not defend her title at all. And I think then the day before the media call, a friend of mine wrote an article about the Pure Championship, not meaning what it used to mean in the past when she watched. And I quote tweeted it and said that I wish people in charge cared more about Ring of Honor. And I think he might have seen that too. So I think he was already annoyed with me. And so then he got snippy with me on the call.
Just for no reason, or what did you ask him?
Well, I was gonna, when we got to the ROH stuff, I was gonna.
Oh, okay, all right, we'll keep it for that.
Since we're here,
so you have a few more. No, unless we're like,
that was why it was kind of it ties into that. So,
but and Spider, we weren't gonna spoil you, but if you're,
yeah, we'll get there. I'll get there real quick. I mean, we'll get there in just a minute. But that is a good question about how many matches, so it's not too long. I mean,
okay, so,
the 0 hour is generally, sometimes it's 4 matches, but sometimes he only does 3 on the pre-show. And then it depends on how many people wrestled at Wembley that he's going to have turn around and wrestle on All In, because if you are giving some people like if they're having to turn around and wrestle like after all that travel, then they're wrestling. I mean, but now you have a little bit longer than you did last year, so maybe it just and then it depends on who is wrestling.
10
like, so
to 12.
I would say, I mean that's an average card for him is like 10. So
I mean, 9 seems like with his. I mean, because if you've got, I mean, some of the matches you already got, like Swerve and Danielson, that needs time. Tony and Mariah, that needs time.
Yeah.
Like that.
Wait, was that the All In or All Out card? What was the
Oh.
question? Oh, it is All In. You're right. Okay, my brain read All Out
Okay,
for
she
some
said,
reason.
okay, thank gosh.
Yes.
Because I have
No,
no
you're
idea.
right.
If you're
I was
asking
like,
me about All Out, I have no idea.
I read it, but my brain read All Out, and it says All In. So Lady B is right. So I do think so. I think they'll do 4 matches on the pre-show because I think they're going to try to get as many people on that card as possible. In part because they don't get to the
well, it's a
the
super.
European
I mean, it is
fans.
kind of a super show because it's like foreign country and
Right, and the Europeans don't get. I mean, I know that they're getting a Dynamite this year, right? Is that correct? They're getting Dynamite and Rampage.
Yes. I think there's
I think that's so they'll get more exposed. So that may pull some of the.
Is it a Dynamite or is there a Rampage and Collision? No,
I
they're
thought
giving a Dynamite.
I thought it was Dynamite, and then they were filming Rampage and
Dynamite,
Collision
and
with
they'll
it.
probably do a Dynamite Rampage.
I could be completely wrong.
No, you're probably right because that would actually make more sense. Why would you do the other way?
So
I hope you're right.
But now we just have this that was in the chat. I saw it a minute ago and did get to come back to it. But Brad says, I'm sure it got missed with all the All In talk in the chat before, but Rev Pro just announced MJF versus Michael Oku for the American title on August 11th. And we know August the 2nd, he's wrestling. I saw his promo that he cut on the person that he's wrestling who won the tournament, and I have just blanked on his name. I'm sure somebody in the chat can tell me because I watched the promo that he cut. It's a very MJF promo, and he said he gets to wrestle an American Hero. so yeah, I guess that would. So August the 2nd is the MLL match. August. Thank you. I knew somebody. I knew it started with the T, and I was like, it's
almost always Brad. Brad.
I was like, somebody in this chat knows.
Thank goodness we have people to support us this way, or we would be lost.
Yes. So Dynamite and Collision are what they are doing in England. And then Lady B says last year they did 11 matches at All In. I can see them doing 11 again.
11 sounds about right.
It's about what he normally does. And I mean, maybe he stacks it a little less because they will have Dynamite and Collision this time, because last time he said he didn't do that before because he wanted the European fans, their first experience, to be All In. And so now we're doing matches leading up to it. So he may leave some stuff off there. So then maybe that lets, because like I don't know if
they have, now that I'm thinking about it, because it might be like New York where they have hard outs.
Yes. And then,
because
like you said,
sometimes those places have expensive, like if you're not out by X
because there were problems last year with people trying to leave Wembley
because the tube only runs until a certain hour, and that's how most people will get there.
Right, and there was some issues with that last year. So that also plays into it. So, like you said, Swerve and Danielson's going to need time. Tony and Mariah absolutely will need time.
They need time.
So perhaps
they need as much time as they want, frankly.
That they do
MJF and Will Ospreay is going to get time. Like it's gonna.
Yeah, that's going to get time. Yeah, so maybe they do less matches to give these matches more time to do whatever stories that they're telling. So maybe
I'd rather see 8.
Maybe they do like 8. That's what I'm saying. Maybe they do 4 on the pre-show, 8 on the main card, and just do 11 total.
Yeah. Because I'd rather see 8 great matches than like have some of those be forced.
Like on the one hand, like I get it, because for me, I'm with a lot of the people in the same boat. If I'm paying $50 for a pay-per-view, I don't want 5 matches. I can go to Peacock and get 5 matches. If I'm paying
I guess it's quality over quantity and what you value.
Yeah, but in this situation where we've got 5 matches so far. 3 of those are big matches so far. 4 actually, because Mercedes and Britt will need some time. Mercedes is not. Mercedes has been getting time in her matches, and her pay-per-view matches.
That could be a long-term story for that could be a bigger fight than just Wembley. That could go on for a bit.
So yeah, maybe you do like 8 matches there.
I think that would be my.
And then because you do have to do again, you have to do All Out a week and a half, whatever, 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
So some of those people that are wrestling on All In, are they going to wrestle on Out depending on what the story is? That'll be interesting to see how they play that. So that's yeah.
I guess that would be my sweet spot. Would be around 8. With what we've got so far, knowing what we know this minute.
Yeah, and so Robert says All In should be a 2 pre-show 9. So. Yeah. And
that's right around the number. I mean, like I gave like what 10 to 12 was kind of
and then the Ron Sin matches seems about right.
So we're all basically coming in around the same number.
Yeah. And so now we will get to ROH.
Right.
I'm not meaning to tease this all show long, but this is how it worked out because I wanted to get to the more important stuff. Not that ROH wasn't important, because it is. So as you know, most of you know who've watched for a long time, I cover ROH. I would watch ROH.
You're one of the 12 people.
I'm one of the 12 people who watch on a regular basis and not just at the pay-per-views. However, you could just watch the pay-per-views and you probably would miss if we're talking especially from Supercard to Death Before Dishonor, you could have missed a lot of Honor Club and watched the pay-per-view and knew what was happening because the stories have been aimless. They have been, and again, and I've mentioned this many times and I will make it clear once again, this is not on the talent whatsoever. The talent is very good. I always know that they are going to deliver on pay-per-views. I know that they're going to deliver during the week when it's just random ass matches that have no story and don't mean a damn thing, which is my point. He's relying extremely heavily on proving ground matches. So again, Billie Starkz was the first ever women's TV champion. She won a tournament. Was in 5 proving ground matches. Never once defended her title until Death Before Dishonor, and she lost it.
She lost that match?
She did. She lost to Red Velvet.
Really?
Yes. I have not seen the match yet. I haven't gotten there yet. Because I was at when I was at Ashe.
After all that stuff with like Athena and everything else and all the things they did, and they gave her like the new championship, and she lost it. That was her first defense.
Yep, and she lost it in her first defense. Yes, I feel like this is going to play into more story with.
I hope so.
Athena.
That sounds horrible,
but it's weird. So,
well, it is weird considering that they've been like she's been like her minion. I mean, there was they fought each other.
Right. Yes. So it's very interesting. So I got home and I let the dog out, and the ROH chat, that has some of the people who actually watch every week, who part of the 12.
All 12 of you.
Talking about Athena, and I was like, crap. So Miley was done. I was like, the Athena match is starting. So Nikki and I just went ahead, turned on Death Before Dishonor. So we watched Athena versus Queen Aminata, and then the main event was Mark Briscoe versus Roderick Strong. And then the replay wasn't up yet, so we went back and watched the buy-in, or 0 hour rather. So we get that out of the way. And then last night after Battle of the Belts, we watched the first 3 matches, which were Commander versus Beast Mortos, which was amazing. It was so good.
I mean,
it's just so good.
Kind of seems like a no-brainer, but
yeah, it was so good. And then the next match was the tag match. It was the Kingdom versus Kyle O'Reilly and Ishii, who are Kyle O'Reilly dubbed themselves, they are called Best in Show, because he said he is the ferocious pit bull, or he is the pit bull and I am the ferocious beagle. We are Best in Show.
Oh, God.
So good. So good. It was great.
Oh, Kyle.
I love Kyle so much.
That is.
And bless Kyle's heart. His own
he picked a beagle.
his own beagle, Hank, passed away.
Oh, he has
earlier
a
this
beagle
week.
too. No
He
wonder
had a-
you
well,
guys.
he
You guys
did.
are like
Hank-
spiritual. See, you're
Hank-
spiritually linked.
Yes. So Hank unfortunately passed away earlier in the week
Aw,
last
buddy.
week. I saw him posted on his Instagram. But yes, so last night actually when after Battle of the Belts and they all came out to the ring, Kyle was wearing a shirt that had a beagle's face on it and it took up the entire shirt. We don't know if it was just a beagle or if it was Hank. I couldn't tell for sure if it was. And then so the tag match. So the tag match had this weird implication because this is again, we knew that Undisputed Kingdom was going to be wrestling for the trios titles the next night, regardless. So we were like, is the Kingdom going to lose and Roddy's going to lose and then they're going to become trios champions? But then if you put the tag titles on Kyle O'Reilly and Ishii, Ishii's only here till September. Unless they're going to do World Tag League, which starts in November, and then you do Wrestle Dynasty in January. But then what do you do between September and November? So just some interesting things that were happening in the booking that made you just like explain it to me like I'm 5. But there was no need to worry because the Kingdom did retain their titles because Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher helped them do so. Why? I don't know.
Why is the Callis family on ROH?
Because Kyle Fletcher was an ROH and he was.
Okay. That's right. He's a crossover. I forget. That's right. I forget.
He's ROH. He was the ROH television champion until he lost it to Atlantis Jr. At CML 3 weeks ago. So Kyle was one of the few champions who actually defended his title and didn't just have proving ground matches. Of all people, Kyle Fletcher was one of the ones, and I love him. Kyle is great. Yes. Brad says, I'm loving slutty Kyle Fletcher. We need more crop top.
Kyle Fletcher is a really talented dude, man. Everything he does is a lot of him and he's great. We were lucky because he was at our Detroit show, the last Detroit show. He showed up and everyone, unlike Camille, everyone knew who he was. So he got a huge pop and it was awesome.
Kyle did a Q&A on Twitter the other day when he was getting 2 more tattoos. And so he's doing a Q&A and somebody said crop tops or short shorts and he said both. And so that he comes out on a crop top on Friday.
He better watch it because if he comes out in jorts, him and Tom Lawler are gonna have words.
Well, then let me have that match.
I'm
in. Have to wear. They both have to wear.
I'm absolutely. That was me saying, please, for the love of God,
please make this happen. Let me have Kyle Fletcher versus Filthy Tom.
Who does not
in a battle of
that?
The jorts? They both have to wear crop tops and jorts in their match. Like that's the stipulation, and then they're king of the jorts if they win the match. But then we're all winners.
We are all winners.
We are all winners. So, but that match, regardless of the run-in stuff, which because AEW and ROH love doing their run-ins,
shenanigans.
Their shenanigans, and wish they'd dial it back a little bit. But but the match was great. They were really good. Ishii and Kyle are a really great team, and they just like beat the hell out of the Kingdom. But the Kingdom they looked great in that match. Like I really enjoyed it. And so the third match I had already heard about, but I was really looking forward to, and it was Diamante versus Layla in a Texas death match, which that was one of the ones that we were kind of surprised about this match. One, because it has been an ongoing story, but it's not been a story that they've given a focus to until the prior week when they randomly had a lights out match. But the lights out match was really good. And so I was like, okay, cool. Texas death match. The Texas death match ruled. They did a bunch of cool shit. I thought
did they bleed
a lot, and early on, like a lot, and they were bleeding like minutes in. Like Layla bled first, and then Diamante was bleeding, and then at one point their faces were covered in blood.
I was off social media. Did it have a shit fit?
Not that I saw.
Awesome. Again, good job. Well done.
I got to it later because I was at Ashe when this match was happening, and the chat was talking. Media. I saw the chat, and they were like, "Oh my god, I think she broke her arm," and I was like, "Who?" And so apparently the fear was that Layla broke her arm. I have not heard if she did. She didn't. I saw her tweet later and she didn't give an update. If she didn't break it, she separated her shoulder. Like it was, she went through, she jumped off of a ladder, the very tip top of the ladder.
No,
she
it's
jumped
like the
off
same spot that got Christian.
She jumped onto a table, which she had taped Diamante to the table.
Oh,
and there was two bags of thumbtacks. There was a chancla with thumbtacks on them. There was barbed wire. There were chairs. There were tables. Like, this match ruled, and they got like 16 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really good. I really enjoyed that match. Apparently Vinkins says that Twitter was already modding when they saw the blood. Oh, I'm not surprised. I personally did not see it, but I am not surprised. But it's a Texas death match. What the hell do you expect? It's in the name.
Well, girls aren't allowed to bleed, which joke's on you guys.
Laurent says the Texas death match was awesome. One of the best matches on the card. Yes. And so
nice. I'm glad that they're breaking that down and just letting everyone wrestle the way they want to wrestle.
Yes. Yeah. Me too.
We can all do Texas death matches if it's appropriate for the story.
Yeah. I think
or street fights or no DQs or whatever the thing is. And
the match was awesome. And I like that it didn't involve the title. It was two women telling another story, which we're getting so that we don't
she's not legitimately hurt, because that would
I think she looked injured. Because
then everybody's going to clutch their pearls about the fact that she got hurt, and they're going to totally ignore the fact that Adam Copeland just like got hurt because he did a spot that he was clearly uncomfortable doing.
Right. Yeah. From the top of a cage.
Right.
And so Layla, as much as, a separated shoulder sucks, but I would much rather it be a separated shoulder than a broken arm. But I've not heard.
I guess I'd rather go out though, having put on a massively successful match.
Yeah, that match ruled. It was so good. It was really good. The match that I really, really wanted to want to see, I've not gotten to yet, because it was by this point it was 3:00, and I was like, I need to go to bed. But I really, really wanted to see Wheeler Yuta versus Lee Moriarty for the Pure Championship, because I love both of them.
It's like your two favorites.
I love them, and then B, they had a a Proving Ground match a few weeks ago, and it went over, because with Proving Ground you either win or you have to go 10 minutes.
Or right,
over the 10 minutes, and that match was fantastic. So I was like, if that match was that good, then I can only imagine what the pay-per-view match was. I do know the outcome of that match because it was all over the place. And then obviously last night, if you watch Collision, they were both on the show, and one had a title and the other didn't.
So you work it out.
So, but I really, really, I have heard nothing but great things. I have heard a lot of people say that was the match of the night for them. Nice. So I was really bummed, and because I was like, damn it, I bet this match is right after the this Texas Death Match.
You can only watch so much wrestling at the same time, Sam. I mean,
I know.
You can't be at a wrestling thing and then be watching wrestling and then be covering wrestling, and then
all of the nights it was Battle of the Belts was the night that I wanted to watch.
You're finally like, yay, okay, we'll watch it after Collisions. Oh, no, we won't.
No, we won't. So I was like, well, we'll get as far as we can. And so I was like, well, we will be picking that up tonight for sure. I cannot wait.
Don't anybody in the chat who's telling her to go, don't worry.
Well, also Nikki doesn't.
So many hours in Sam's days, people.
I heard that I know kind of how it ended, like what happened. Nikki does not. Nikki has not seen anything, but I know because the ROH chat was talking about it.
So no spoilers, graphic guys.
Nikki doesn't know. But yeah, so I can't wait for that. So that's as far as I got. I have not seen Billy versus Red Velvet yet, but I do know that Red Velvet won.
Obviously.
And I did not see Dark Order versus. Wait, did they do? Yeah, they did Dark Order versus the Von Erichs and Dustin Rhodes. I think that was the main card match. I think that was, but clearly we know who won. because they're champions now. I think those were the only ones that I missed. And then I did watch Athena. I forgot to time it. I was like, it was starting and I was like, crap, I didn't time it. And Nikki was like, we got to rewatch the whole show. It's not like, and I did watch Briscoe versus Roddy, but I was also on my phone. So I missed certain things. And I heard a lot of people really like what I saw, I enjoyed. So I'm going to go back and rewatch Athena versus Queen Aminata, and Roddy versus Briscoe. But Athena versus Aminata was fantastic. It was one of the best matches. It should have main evented. Like the match was so good. Athena did win. She retained because she is now 3 days away from a 600-day title reign. And the only other, I believe, if the numbers are correct, if the numbers don't lie, I believe that if she surpasses 646 days as champion, she will break Samoa Joe's record for longest, because Samoa Joe was the TV, I think he was the TV championship for that, he a combined total of 646 days. So if she surpasses that, she will be the longest reigning champion. I believe. I gotta double check that because I've seen it from a few people, but I'm not for sure. She's the longest reigning woman to ever hold a title in the ROH. That I know for sure. So it feels like part of the reason Billy lost, is they are going to pick the story back up, and Billy is going to be the one to defeat Athena at Final Battle. I think is where they're going, because if Aminata is not the one to win, because Queen Aminata should have.
Yeah, they seem like they were building for that. I mean, from the outside looking in,
right.
is a very
if Queen Aminata could not do it, then I think it's Billy. I think they're going back to that story. And you already saw like an interview afterwards, like Lexi is like all hype because Athena won, and they're all hype with each other, and Billy like tried to hug her, and Athena pushed her away and just kind of like pushed her back. And so she's starting that kind of process again. And she was like, Lexi, did you get the car ready? And they're like, yeah. And they were like, I forget where they were going to celebrate. It was something funny. So I feel like that's what they're doing. But yeah, I was really surprised by the outcome. I thought Red Velvet, not Red Velvet. I thought Queen Aminata was going to win, especially because Red Velvet won. I was like, okay, this is what they're doing. And then they're going to bring Athena and Billy together to the main roster. Not yet. I mean, they should still. I would like to see them on the main roster between now and then, but I'm not holding my breath because, apparently that's the forbidden title that doesn't know how to go through the forbidden door to get to AEW, whatever their little portal is. I don't know what they're doing with that part, but yeah. So we'll go back to the call. So on Thursday, we had a media call about ROH. And at the time we had, and I missed the Survival of the Fittest match. I've not seen that. So I had counted 5 matches. And I was like, and so I asked, like, the card is tomorrow. The show is tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get some matches added tonight after after Honor Club. Can you tell me a little bit about like why you're approaching this differently? Because we have all seen that if you watch a Tony Khan pay-per-view, that it's like a 10-match minimum, like regardless if it's AEW or ROH. So to have 5 announced matches the day before a pay-per-view was interesting to me. And again, goes back to, and it's not the number of matches. It is that your TV that you have been providing us makes it feel like an afterthought and you do not care. So the fact that you have 5 announced matches seems to corroborate that thought that you don't care enough about this product that you've only announced 5 matches the day before a pay-per-view. Well, apparently, and I didn't say that part, that was the unspoken part. But so basically I just asked, what is your thought process? Why are there's only 5 matches ahead of this? Can you talk a little bit about that? Well, apparently that was the wrong question, because so he says to me, there's 6 matches. Apparently, Tony Khan announced a match at 4:26 a.m. Eastern time when I was sleeping. And so I missed the 6th match being announced. I had seen it later. I saw that the match was announced, but I didn't realize it was a pay-per-view match. I thought it was a match for that night. I didn't realize it was a Death Before Dishonor match. So he got kind of an attitude then. And so he was like, of course, injuries play into this. He was like, Dalton Castle was injured in the match against Roddy. He was supposed to have a match tomorrow night. That clearly is not happening. Jay White got injured. Sky Blue's injury affects AEW and ROH. Then he was okay-ish with that answer. He wasn't really snippy. But then this is where he gets snippy. And I have the reason I have this is because somebody at Fightful put the exact response that he had to me, because he said, another company regularly only has 5 to 6 matches. I don't think they get as much stick as I do. Anything I do in wrestling, I get more stick than anybody else per capita for just about anything I do. If I sneeze, people are mad at me. So, yeah.
Oh, Tony got angry.
That's the first time he's gotten mad at me since the Thunder Rosa thing.
Somebody's having a bad day and projecting.
Lady B said, "Oh, that was your question. I saw that quote everywhere." Yeah, that's
Sam has a tendency to ask the right question, which is also the wrong question, which in journalism is exactly the right question.
I mean, maybe the question should have been, how did injuries affect this? But
I think you that's totally
my thought process is, because I didn't want to say, if I wanted to be blunt with him, I could have been like, your TV has not been great for weeks and you only have 5 apparently 6 matches announced, and it feels like ROH is an afterthought.
Well, he gave you a toddler answer, because he stamped his foot and was like, there were 6 matches.
Yes.
That's the initial response should have, I guess, probably been like, but the idea that he would take what your question was and turn it into like, I can't do anything right, and everybody no one would bother. I mean, he essentially was like, no one would come down on Triple H for this. It's like,
yeah, I was just like, yeah. So I guess
he's been having. He's very stressed out, Sam, and you just found.
Yeah, he got snippy. He got snippy one other time later in the call, but he got snippy.
Awesome.
But that's what he got snippy with me about that, and I was just like, and so that's why I do think, because I know that Tony has read my previous ROH articles. He's read previous AEW articles.
Good.
I know that he has. So I do kind of wonder if he read the article from 2 weeks ago, where I was just like, I haven't written about ROH in weeks because there was nothing to write about. Like, that's how
I have had this conversation a billion times. Like, we talk about this all the time, how part of the reason that I won't even participate is because it constantly seems like they're using one to put the other over, and what's my benefit? And their only thing that they're keeping behind the paywall is Athena.
Yeah, and I got behind a few weeks ago. I was like 5 episodes behind, and I went back and watched them all. And I honestly, if I wasn't timing matches, I could have gotten away with not watching those. The only good match, really. Not the only good match. There were other solid matches, but the only match that really had any type of storyline behind it or had any stakes to it was the Yuta Lee Moriarty match. And that actually happened the week that I was coming, like, that actually didn't miss that match. I watched that on time. So, like, I technically wouldn't have really missed anything. And that is the point, is you are giving people reasons to only subscribe and pay, because for $10 to get the Death Before Dishonor show that they got, and at least from what I've seen of it, well worth the $10. So you are not giving people a reason to stick around after the pay-per-view. You are giving them a reason to subscribe, watch the pay-per-view, and then cancel their subscription until the next one. And so that is my whole point, is you aren't giving people any incentive to continue to watch your programming, because you are either featuring all the titles in AEW, or you're doing proving ground matches over and over, or you're not telling any story. You're having these like, and they're having short matches. Like, they would have like 4 women's matches, but they'd all be like 4 and 5 minutes. So it was like Dark all over again. Like, you're giving people the argument that you've turned ROH into Dark. And so by announcing
making people pay for it, I didn't have to pay for Dark.
Right. And so you're giving
you
people
have every right to ask. You are in a time, especially in a time like this, you have every right as someone who participates in the product. You have every right to be asking a question like that if you get given the opportunity,
Because
you're actually consuming the product.
Right. And if you want me to tell people, hey, I watched this great product, if you have $10 extra a month to spend, you should spend it, but you're not giving me a reason to, and you're not. And so that was the whole point of the question, was it is feeding into the fact that ROH feels like an afterthought to you because you are so busy with everything else, which we've talked about. Like, I get it. I know he's got a lot on his plate, but then loosen the grip some and let some other people get involved.
But he knew that when he bought the company.
Like, change the booking around. Let Chris Hero have some say. Maria's having some health concerns right now, but if Maria is healthy and from what she has said, she has tried to get a position where you were not giving it to her for whatever reason. And so, and then you announced
me
Thursday night
you hit it pretty close to the mark there, Sam.
Yes, I did. And so, that's why I feel like, I think he read the article of me fussing about that. Then he probably read where I said I wish the people involved in ROH cared more, because it feels like he doesn't.
Awesome. He's hate reading your article. I love it. I love to picture Tony Khan hate reading your article.
Oh God, I'm sure he does, or he has people read it for him and be like, she's at it again. Then he heard mine. And that's what I told him. I was like,
to take your questions, and he keeps taking them. So
he
heard
my
little baby.
I was like, he heard my name, and it reminded him, and like little alarm bells went off. And
he was like, I need to yell at that stupid girl.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to talk to her.
You're just a dumb girl anyway. What do you know, you stupid stopwatch person?
I know. When they were announcing these matches, the tag team match, and then the 6-man, and that's when we realized they were separating the titles. And I was like, please explain it to my small woman brain. I
want him to like really lose it and be like, it's you stopwatch people. It's always you.
Listen, I told you.
That'd be so. That'd be classic. I would greatly enjoy playing that little blurb on our.
Oh, you would. You better believe I would clip that if they did.
Oh yeah, and you better believe I would be playing it on here. I'd probably make a soundbite out of it. I already
had Kevin Kelly make the smart ass comment a few weeks before he wasn't on there anymore.
We just like make a little clip of it so that every time, and you just like be Sam. It's like why are you always coming down on me, Sam?
There's a clip from the week before last where Athena screams Tony Khan, and so it's been clipped. I clipped it, and then somebody else clipped it, and they were like, and so when he was announcing the matches the way he was, we used that clip of Tony Khan.
That's beautiful. You know what? Keep up the good work is all I have to say.
Thank you. So Lady B said it's a valid question. Triple H has answered why WWE only has 5 matches. They have their reasons, like them or not, and TK should have answered it.
Correct.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have added. No, I was like, oof.
But he threw a temper tantrum instead.
He did. I was like, relax. Like, I'm asking a valid question because of your booking. And I didn't want to. Maybe I should have just been rude and said, ROH seems like an afterthought, and because of your booking, and you've announced 6 matches the day before a pay-per-view, which still makes it feel like an afterthought. Is ROH an afterthought?
Yeah, you could have been a way more inflammatory journalist, but you chose
just asked that.
You chose being a courteous professional and asking what his thought process was.
Yeah. Yes. And so
and you triggered him. Ha ha.
Apparently it did.
Schadenfreude for Mel. Thank you.
Venkin says, I hope someone asks Triple H next week when the tag titles will be on a PLE. When Motor City comes.
And then we can clip it and send it to Tony. And be like, this is from us.
Yes, and that's true.
People.
Laurent says everyone gets to appear on AEW television except the ROH women's title holders, and it is a real shame. It is a real shame, and I maintain I am so serious about the fact that I think he's keeping Athena off the TV because he is using her. He knows she's that valuable, and he won't give her away for free, even though he's giving all the rest of ROH away for free. And it should he should be. You know what? He should be mad at you because you're right.
And I've been saying that the whole time as someone who's like, yeah, I'd be interested if I thought for 1 second that he actually gave a crap about it. I'm still subscribed to other things. I've got like, so
right.
Your question, you're asking that question on behalf of someone like me who legitimately wants an answer to that question before I'm going to.
Well, I legitimately want to know. I cover I cover the damn show.
You're participating.
I want to. Because like I said a few weeks ago, at least with the cruiserweights, when we talked about 205 Live, there was a small group of us who watched 205 Live, but at least we had storylines.
Yeah, yep. I was part of the 12 people that watched 205
Yeah,
Live.
we watched, but I was like, at least there were storylines and there were things that made sense on
there were really good matches.
Yeah, and so we have decent to good, and there's nothing wrong with the decent matches because they're letting people get in reps, and I like seeing people. I do like the dark aspect where I get to see wrestlers that I'm not super familiar with, and like I got to see because I've seen Maya World on there a couple times, and then Maya obviously wrestled on Thunder Rosa last night on Collision. Friday night, Maya World wrestled at Ashe Wrestling. She made her debut, and she wrestled. She actually, I think was that her return? No, it was her debut, and it was her 22nd birthday. And she was in a 4-way women's match in the main of it was the main event of 2 matches. And so I got to see Maya, and then I come home and see she's wrestling Thunder Rosa the next night, which was really cool to see. And Maya, I've seen her a little bit. Athena has trained her, or is one of her trainers. So she definitely is somebody to keep an eye on. But yeah, so, and then, and Lady B makes the point that there's a reason why HBK runs NXT. One person can't do it all. No. And Tony, and it's interesting because towards the end of the call, the moderator was like, you've been really busy, can you talk about that a little bit? So he talks about, obviously, they're doing the ongoing talks with Warner Brothers. Football, NFL just had its its camp its rookie camp just opened. Something was happening in soccer. So like this man is very busy, which we know, but it feels like ROH is once again the one that suffers from that and so learn to trust somebody. I saw somebody the other day said to let Bryan Danielson run it if he's not going to wrestle full time.
There you go.
Just let Danielson run it.
That actually, he still has a job in wrestling. He still has his hands in it, but he's totally like able to spend time with his daughter.
Right, exactly.
Especially if it's got a location like where it's stationary in Arlington,
where it seems like it's going to be. And then,
if it becomes stationary, that's even better for him because then that's just a commute. It's not like he commutes to. He could bring Birdie.
Right. Yeah. Nikki said
homeschool.
Yeah, when I told because Nikki could hear me because I was talking to somebody else on the phone after the call. So Nikki wasn't in here for the Tony, but she heard me on the phone talking to somebody about it. And she was like, so Nikki said, oh no, you're going to have to come back into the call, Stephanie.
That's right. We do have your alt set up for you. We have Sam's burner name so that she can get in again if she gets kicked out for good. So we've already picked it out as a group. We've got it. She
apparently showed up a Revolution. We didn't know she was coming, but
she was there.
According to Fightful, she was there.
Stephanie Shipman.
And Brad said on the next call, Tony
spelled without a C.
Yeah, right. Yes. Brad said on the next call, Tony, before I ask that question, I can hear you roll your eyes.
Yes. Do you want to sit down before I ask my question?
Yes, there we go. Stephanie Shipley, because somebody Seahawk was on the call the other day, and he said Samantha Shipley ? And it's hard because I have problems keeping up with names too, and they don't always pop up. Sometimes on the screen it will pop up the name, and sometimes it doesn't. And so I'm forever misspelling people's name or mishearing them, and I feel bad because I'm like I can't stand that. And so he mistaken. So yes, there we go. There's the new name.
There we go.
So if you ever see a Stephanie Shipley asking a question, just know it's
Sam. Me. That's Sam's alt.
It's my alt. Should make a Twitter account and claim it before anybody else.
You totally should. That is not a joke. You always have a burner anyway in case you get twit mode.
I don't have a burner, but
you
should have a burner. And that should be,
especially since he's a check mark, he could have you like twit mode. Can you imagine?
Now-
like
now
one day
Tony's
he
gonna
throws
know-
you off
Tony's
your
gonna
timing
be-
women's matches, and they like ban you from Twitter for a week because of Tony Khan.
In case I
Hey,
disappear.
listen, we are living in the weirdest world possible. Like, this
We are.
timeline is ridiculous, so anything is possible.
This is true.
Well, I mean, look around, people. Look at this timeline. It's a mess.
It is a
Anything's
mess.
possible.
Yes. Yeah. So they were talking, that oh, Venkin says that Samoa Joe should run ROH. And
Yeah.
Nikki said that she was about to say he trusts Brian so much, let him do it. And then Laurent says, but if he's keeping Athena and Billy off AEW, then Athena should be main eventing all of their pay-per-views, not Mark Briscoe. I have seen
Agree.
in the ROH chat, Mark is at the ROH. They're doing 2 ROH tapings today. They have a 1:00 show and a 6:00 show. And Mark Briscoe apparently is wrestling at the first. He is at the first one. And another thing, of course, talking about ROH is and on the media call when he was not getting mad at me, the question before me, Stephanie Chase asked if ROH was involved in the conversations that they are having, that Warner Brothers is having with AEW, and he said yes, they were. Hinted that potentially ROH is coming to TV. Dave Meltzer asked the question later on in the call. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go back through my tweets, but of what he asked, but he kind of hinted there as well that ROH might be involved in TV. And then at the media scrum, apparently it was brought up again, and people are like, he said it on the scrum, and I was like, he said it at the media call too, y'all. He said it then. We told you this 2 days ago. But yes, so it appears that ROH is involved. They are hinting that they're going to call it AEW ROH, which I don't like, but I guess it's Warner Brothers probably likes
Warner
it.
Brothers wants the branding. Probably
yeah, and so we were
probably want the consistency on the branding.
Yeah, people were joking that it's like
Unfortunately.
WWE ECW.
Yeah.
This is AEW ROH. I was like, it's still ROH to me, just like it's still Twitter to me.
And it still will be Twitter. Yeah, it will be. And that, I mean it for a long time, but the suits will always want to brand something.
Of course
so
they will.
Can, because
so
I mean, especially like you can see it on yours, like anything that you have that has like now like Disney Plus has a whole bundle there, and they have all their little cluster things, or even on Max, it's like we have our DC section and we have our original series section, and they're going to want to set theirs up similarly.
Yeah, and they've got other, as they keep bringing up, they've got other channels. People have said for a long time that they wanted it to be, that they want. No, shit. Apparently there's an injury, which I'll get to in just a second.
Okay.
God dang it, because I saw no and I went to look before finishing my thought. But people have wondered if they would do True TV, because True TV just has
heard that too.
That's been a rumor for like a year.
Forever.
They've been like forever. They're like, why don't they just put it on True TV? True TV is just a bunch of reruns anyway. Why not just put program ROH on there?
Well, and then there's some people that want to build True TV up, and then within the thing is some that say that it's not worth it because of all the debt that Warner Brothers has. It's a mess. It's a really big mess. And now there's going to be, because of what's going on, now there's going to be legal proceedings because of the NBA deal. That, I mean, it doesn't seem like, it's like, why am I talking about that? Well, it is going to affect the outcome of like where anything ends up, and that will have an effect on AEW.
Right.
So,
right.
And I mean, a lot of that, I mean, if you like talk to some of the people in our Discord, they think that this was the way that this is going is exactly the way that like these companies wanted it to go. They wanted the legal proceedings and they wanted all this BS because they're trying to leverage their offers against each other to the point of like using the U.S. court system.
Just like the wrestlers who use AEW to find out what they would get and then take that number right back to their company and then they re-sign with them, which they should. It's smart. But yeah, so the TV playing out reminds me of that. I was like, it's just like, and he keeps talking about how they're in their exclusive window, and it feels like, and
they're out of it. It ended.
It sounds like, the deal is pretty much like done, and they're just
it's weird. It sounds.
I think an announcement is coming.
The NBA stuff is complicating things.
It is, but then there's the Olympics are happening, and Fightful reported that David Zaslav and Tony Khan would be at the Olympics at some point together. So there's that.
So, but there could be, there could be a coup against Zaslav at some point. I mean, it's so overly like there's a lot going on in television media rights. It's really crazy stuff. It's
I mean, I do feel like I feel like
it's a valuable product.
Right. I feel like this announcement is coming.
Me too.
Soon.
It has to.
I feel like it, especially because the NBA stuff does that kind of throw. Because then you maybe to give some stability is like, hey, we have this even though this is going on with the NBA. Here's we do have AEW, and this will be here. And not only are they on, our programming Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, but now we have ROH, who is now also on TV. So I can see that potentially being how they play this, but I feel like this is coming sooner rather than later.
I do too, because of fall rollouts, because they're going to want in the back to school time frame when everybody gets their TV out and stuff.
Yeah. And
when you could potentially finally see these final seasons of things like Stranger Things and things like that, that finally get rolled out in the back to school time when people are
and that's where I feel
they're
like
not going to roll it out in August when everybody's like finishing up their summer. They're going to do it in September when people have school nights and, deadlines and bedtimes and weekdays.
Right, before the fall premiere, before you find out which shows are staying, which ones are canceled.
Otherwise, there's no sense in doing it until, a lot of it is like not launching till next fall anyway. So, there is a bunch of stuff that hit these deals that have been made, like this bundling with like the stuff with ABC and Cinemax and all these things. Right. That won't even like whatever gets done finally is not even supposed to launch until next fall.
Yeah.
And that's the same for the WWE thing, which isn't supposed to not launch until next fall either, I think. Or no, wait.
I think
no, that's the end of this year. It's September.
See, no, because NXT is moving. If I remember correctly, NXT is moving to CW in October. And then SmackDown
bridge the gap until like the early
and then SmackDown is moving to I think SmackDown is moving to USA for like till the end of the year.
Yeah,
to the end of the year before Raw goes to Netflix. It's like really weird the way they're handling it.
Yeah.
So I feel like something is coming sooner rather than later, and I do feel like it'll come with, like you said, the fall programming.
It just seems to me, if you're going to make your most money in advertising, it's going to be when people are back in their houses Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Is it? And I feel like I could see it coming sometime after the Olympics. The Olympics are on NBC.
Definitely.
The Olympics are going on for the next it's 16 days. I guess we're 14 for the next 14 days.
Theoretically, if they get a deal done, they start advertising on the Olympics because you've got millions of viewers right now.
That would, that would be huge if they could do that.
You should smartly. The Olympics are a big advertising venue for that. So the sooner you get a deal done, the sooner you start throwing some advertising in there. Even though I know it's mostly sold by now, it's your network. So you can switch around your advertising for your network stuff.
Sure.
Easily.
Yeah. That's right. So that's
and advertising for a big launch like that would make sense during a major. The Olympics are pulling in a lot of viewership, despite other things that just aren't.
Right. And I want to go back to Lady B's comment here that she has wondered for a long time who runs AEW's PR. Tony needs to not be the only one speaking to media. But before it was Tony, it was Cody. When I was doing media calls, it was Cody. I was on media calls.
Cody's a better politician than Tony.
Cody did the media calls for a long time. He did them for a couple of years, if I remember correctly. It was Cody, and then Tony started doing them, and then it's always
seems
Tony.
Like he would, he must have done a really good job with them.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like he would know exactly, just especially as Dusty's son and the smart as he is. He seems like he would be very good at that.
Yeah, he was very good. And the questions obviously were a bit different at the time because it was early on in the company, and things have changed a lot since then. And so Tony, I guess, should be the one sometimes, but then on the other times,
maybe
when he's getting he gets testy about things, maybe it should be. And again, he has not, he did this call and then because he was in LA, and then he went did or in San Diego rather, and then he went and did the Comic-Con panel like just a couple hours later.
But being a good leader, like, also is knowing when to say, I need this person else to do this thing while I'm doing this thing.
Like, which I agree with, but then on the other hand, I think he wants to be because like Vince was not doing media calls before. It wasn't.
Yeah, but Vince is not the same kind of leader of
right. But I think that's the point. Is Tony is trying to make AEW more
different,
accessible, and he's being approachable in a way that Vince was not. Which has its pros and cons.
Except that he threw a temper tantrum at you. So
well, I was gonna say, which has its pros and cons, and some of those cons are sometimes he gets heated and some things rub him the wrong way. And then
Sam, Stephanie.
Listen, and it's funny because these have happened on the media calls, but I've been to two in-person scrums, and this has not happened. But maybe it's because I didn't ask.
I can't wait. You're not. I like if you get credentialed for a live one.
Yeah, Revolution.
You bring a little sign and say trigger warning, and then ask for a question.
I should. I did the Revolution scrum, and I didn't have. There were no issues.
And Sting was totally cool.
Sting was totally cool. I got to ask Sting a question at his final media scrum, which is an insane sentence to say.
And he did not flip out at you.
No, he did not flip out at me. But I asked Tony a question later on, and he did not flip out at me.
So it is all right. Yeah. He's 50-50.
I mean, I asked because I was asking about would the women be involved.
You picked the wrong day. He had a bee in his bonnet about it already.
He had read he was already like, wait a minute.
Oh, he definitely saw. He was like, this. I've been hate reading this girl's articles for weeks. I am going to let loose on her.
That's, pretty much.
Which is awesome because you get the views.
I should. I should be. But yeah, so what I apparently just read was that Shane Taylor was in the survival of the fittest match, a Death Before Dishonor, and it was for the ROH World TV Championship. He was injured in that match. The injury is unknown, and it is unknown how long he will be out of action.
Well,
which is which sucks for multiple reasons because
so many.
He's incredible. And
they're just finally
I love
starting
Shane
to
Taylor.
Get their feet under them in the regular.
Like 2 weeks ago, Shane Taylor told Mark Briscoe if he retained, he wanted a shot at the title.
Yeah.
So I do feel like, so that's the theory. A lot of, I've seen several people, they think that Shane Taylor will be the one to dethrone Mark Briscoe for the title. So even if he's injured now, maybe depending on what the injury is, maybe he's still back and they have plenty of time to tell the story to get us to him when, potentially taking that title off of him. But the timing sucks, especially because of some other things that are happening.
That seriously sucks because they're really getting hitting their stride in regular AEW programming.
Yeah,
right now.
They have been killing it. They're finally
getting. I really liked them as an addition to Dynamite.
Me too, and because of the 6-man titles have come back, and we have the trios on the AEW roster, and those three dudes.
Shane Taylor's great anyway, but
yeah.
I really like SDP. That's too bad.
Me too. So hopefully it's nothing serious, and hopefully it won't be too out too long. But yes, apparently that is it. I did see that Anna Jay is going to Japan, to Stardom, and that's huge for her. Mel and I have been saying for a long time that she would benefit. She would benefit greatly from going to Japan because she's again. A lot of people forget. When she signed to AEW, she had 7 matches under her belt. 7. She didn't do the indies. She still does. As far as I don't think she does any indies at all. I don't think she has been. And she's had some matches against some of the Japanese women that they brought in a couple of months ago. She was having some of the best matches she's ever had. And I think it would be huge for her. She would learn more in Japan than probably everything she's ever learned, up to this point. Like, she's going to come back. She's already a solid wrestler, and she's putting it together. So I think going to Japan will be huge for her, and she's going to come back. And even in AEW, but she could be for ROH. She could be somebody that could really do a lot with the women's
It's
division.
not
down
just the
there.
wrestling, it's the developing of your character that is really, really cool
Yes,
in
and
women's
she
wrestling
needs-
there that
she
they
needs
do a lot of, that
Yeah.
they've shown with Mariah and Tony and Mina Shirakawa and stuff. They've shown you that, because in TJPW, also, like, they build their characters and they have,
Mhm.
like, they just like anybody else. So it's her character building, because she kind of has the right idea, but I don't know exactly what she wants to be.
She
And I
doesn't-
think
well,
that will
So, as
help
we
her
said
too.
before, having a fat ass and a bad attitude is not a character. These are descriptors, but they are not a character. And she doesn't really have a character. And so I think, like you said, that could be huge for her. And look at what it did with, look at what they did with Jack Perry going to New Japan and how that helped with the character. So I think having,
it'll be way better for her than it ever was for him.
yes, I think she's gonna.
That's
She's gonna
fantastic.
benefit tremendously.
I'm really excited for her.
I'm really excited for her and what she comes back. And so I guess she's there for a month. I'm not sure on what the exact.
That's awesome.
I don't know what the exact length that she's supposed to be in Stardom, but that will be really good. USVA guy feels differently. He says that they don't need to do Tony's dirty work. He needs to build his own people, but he doesn't understand that. I mean, sure, but any wrestler going to Japan, I mean, look at Mercedes. Any wrestler going to Japan is going to get better by going to wrestle there. And that doesn't necessarily, and they need to take those opportunities. And I don't think that that's doing Tony's dirty work. I get the sentiment, but I think any wrestler that can go to Japan, if they have the opportunity to, if they can go to Mexico, like, we saw Mercedes, she's been in Japan. She went to Mexico. She trained in Mexico for a while when she was out before she even came to AEW. That it benefits them greatly, but I do understand also, I get.
I know where that, I get the idea behind that. That makes, that's
right. And should know he should not expect that. But I don't see that as them doing their dirty work. I see that as a wrestler getting an opportunity to become a better wrestler, which if they get an opportunity and if Stardom is asking for her, then if Stardom is like, hey, we want her to come. I mean, sure, maybe it was Tony's idea. Maybe Tony was like, I need her to come here. But you have there's other women wrestlers that could use the good benefit from that. So I get where he's coming from with that. But I do think that Anna will benefit greatly, and any woman that has or any wrestler for that matter that has.
I think any athlete, as someone who actually played a sport, like, I greatly benefited, especially as an American soccer player, like, since we're behind the times, as it were, but not anymore. I mean, it's been so much better. But I mean, when I was playing, it was still like, what is playing against people from other countries was something that benefited me huge. And I mean, mostly it was against other people. Where I was going to camps and they were coming here. Right. I didn't get to play abroad. Many of my friends actually got to play in Europe and other places abroad, and it was awesome. But I mean, just getting that experience from the other places, Europe, South America, Central America,
sure,
playing against those athletes was always beneficial because you're learning the real game, like it's or a different. I mean, I don't know. It's just like being a musician. Like, you want to learn as much music as, like, if you want to be the best pianist ever, you're gonna have to learn a lot of piano from a lot of different kinds of pianists. Like, it just, I think it's the same. I mean, I agree. I agree with the idea that someone else shouldn't be building Tony's talent, but I also believe that talent builds itself by expanding itself into. Like, if I, as a wrestler, want to go there and they want me there and I'm going to take the opportunity and put my best foot forward, then that's something that is huge. So.
Yeah, I mean, and even Athena has been saying, I want to go to Japan, and she told Tony in a scrum, she's like, if I can't go to Japan, then bring the wrestlers to me so that I can wrestle them. And so he did bring some of them over, not, he brought, I think it was Mia Yamashita was over here. And there were, and even Mina wrestled a little bit in ROH. And so he's had several other women who I'm blanking off the top of my head come through and wrestle there. And, Lauren says that the Japan run will do wonders for Anna Jay. She'll get consistent reps, which is something she's not been getting in AEW and ROH, which again is the Tony Khan issue. And so, but
don't ask him about it.
No, do
He
not.
might get mad at you.
That and Brad says that the block that Anna Jay is gonna be in is gonna make her a killer absolute beast in that block.
Okay.
And then he would say, then you could say the same for New Japan, sending alliance to other companies to help them learn. I think that's where Tony is going with this. Is he's not meaning it to train his wrestlers, but to give
more
them
like an
experience.
excursion,
right? But I can also see. Again, it is not, it is own Tony and people who
well,
book
yeah,
Tony
I mean, the
for her
lack
not
of
getting
reps
the
for
reps.
his
So like
wrestlers.
there are both sides of it. Like she's not getting assistant reps, and yes, that is on Tony. But on the other hand, sending them on an excursion type of deal where they're getting to have these opportunities to learn from other talent and other styles of wrestling. I mean, look at Okada. Okada went to Mexico and
He ran away when he was 13 to be a luchador.
Yeah, and look at how that. I mean,
No,
of course,
he's
I'm
the
not,
greatest
and so and then, but he's used it. So I mean, this has been happening for years. But yeah, so of course, you can put the blame on Tony for certain things as far as not getting her the reps and only signing her at 7 matches in. You can absolutely say that that's on Tony for not developing her. Maybe the way that she should, but then you have, I mean, he kind of did the same with Sky Blue, but then Sky went and did she's been doing indies, and it has definitely improved her and has made her a stronger wrestler. But she has also gotten more opportunities in TV reps where Anna maybe has not gotten as many. So there is, you do have to look at the entire picture there. And then Brad says they were building to Anna Jay to go to Japan for a while, so she was in segments with Azumi and having matches with Mina. Yeah, this seems like the natural progression for what they had been doing for her. I would agree. And then I do want to go back up to this real quick. Lady B asked me which pubs I write for. Daily DDT is where I've been. February, I will be there. I have been there for 5 years, and that's where I do. That's where my ROH stuff is at, and that is where when I do media calls, it is thanks to them for that's how I am able to do stuff. And then also my interviews that we do with some of the wrestlers that we have on there, I usually do something for them and there. And then Ashe has given me, they have been wonderful and given me opportunities to interview talent that they bring in, and so my interviews are there. And then I also write for Wrestling Inc. on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I do live Saturdays I do live coverage for them for Collision, and then Mondays and Fridays I do whatever if stories pop up during Raw and SmackDown that are important, like title changes or matches made for a pay-per-view, like that type of stuff I cover for them. And then I have been doing some writing recently for the Sportster. That started 3 weeks ago. I'm helping them to build their resource thing. Like so far I've written like the entire current WWE roster, the current AEW roster. I'm currently working on another article for them. So it's doing resource stuff like that, where basically you can Google like who is on AEW's roster and we'll be on that. And so the next thing I'm working on some stuff with them with that. But my main stuff.
And we try to retweet it from Powerbombshells.
We do, and then
Sam's not gonna like retweet her own stuff, so I have to be more.
I do retweet.
I know you do. I know
you're. It gets lost because we retweet other things as well.
But you're busy, and I try and do that too.
I appreciate that. So yes, that's where you can find my work. And then
thank you for asking, because Sam's an awesome writer.
And then thank you. And I have I do have a link tree in case Twitter goes away. I put links to like my stuff, but I also just created an Authory account so that if these companies that like to keep deleting people's hard work randomly, like it happened to MTV News and CMT News like a month ago. So I have backed up all of everything I have ever written has been backed up on that website. And I think I changed it. Well, it is a backup, but I think I also changed it where it's a portfolio. So everything that I have written, because I used to write for, I wrote for, before I went to Daily DDT, I wrote for the fan-sided part of it, but they moved away from covering wrestling. And so that's why I moved to Daily DDT. So like my fan-sided stuff is there from when I first started wrestling writing, and some of my Bleacher Report stuff that I was doing when I was writing about baseball and stuff is over there as well, in case you need that extra information. But I ended up, the only reason I say it's because I ended up backing up all, because it was still there. So I just backed all that stuff up too.
You should,
just so
though.
I
That's
have
good.
it, because if it ever disappears, then at least I have copies of it.
Totally.
And it was something like 1,300 articles or something like that, some crazy number of articles over the last few years. And then I do need to add the Sportster stuff to that, so that, and it's
That's
nice
really
because
cool.
that Arthur stuff, I have it set now, so every time I write something, it automatically updates it to its website. Like I don't have to go manually do it. I have it set. So literally every time, like, and so like on like a couple of weeks ago, I was covering Raw and I wrote 4 articles in 4 hours, and the next day, all 4 articles were already there for me. I didn't even have
so
to do
awesome.
it's a very nice to have that. So then
That's
I don't
lovely.
have to keep up with making sure I go like once a week and
update all your things, or
and then forget, and then I forget, and it doesn't. So it does it for me, which is very.
You're like, okay, I'm done, but I'm on a deadline. I got to get the hell out of here, and I
Right.
forgot, and now I have 26 articles to upload, so I'm not going to do it.
Right. Yeah. So it was like so now I just have to add the Sportster to that so that it'll automatically do that as well.
Thank you, people, for creating new and diverse software to help out people.
Yes. So I'm doing the monthly. I did it the free version at first, and then I found out, I was mentioning this a couple weeks ago, I found out that it's only free for like 2 weeks, and then if you don't pay, you get to pick 10 articles, and then they get rid of the rest of them. I was like, okay, well, no, I did all this work for that. So I'm on the $15 tier. And I'm looking at, I may end up keeping it. So if I end up keeping it, then I may switch to an annual, but I wanted to see if there's
money. Wait.
Yeah. And well, yes, wait until Black Friday, but
Black
also
Friday
I wanted
sales. That's when they drop everything.
Right. And
Cyber Monday, that's when they do all the
and yes.
Get your virus protection for a third of the price.
Yes, that's what I did with my Nord. So that's what I do. And then if I find another website before then that I like better, then I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about my year. Then I can just move over. But that was I saw other journalists talking about it when the MTV stuff happened. They were like, back up your stuff to Authory was the website I saw like 5 people say. And then so there's probably similar websites out there. I just haven't done any. I haven't looked into it further because I got all my work in one place, and I'm like, it's safe for now. And so I haven't looked. I will answer Lady B. I'll answer you in just 1 second because I know what you're talking about because I saw it. Paul says kind of hard for women to get the reps they need in AEW when there's only one women's match on the show. Yes. And then if they're going to ROH and there's 4 matches, but they last 3 minutes, then you're not getting in a whole lot of reps there either. Because now, like, they're kind of doing that. What Marina's kind of doing the Nyla thing, where she just murders everybody in a minute and a half. And like Marina wrestled on 0 hour, and her match was 54 seconds.
Oh, good, 54 whole seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Goody.
Which I know what they're doing. They're done, but they're doing, and they've been using Abaddon again, and they're kind of doing that with Abaddon. Abaddon is beating people in 2 and 3 minutes again. So. There's that. So you can't get any reps. It's hard to get reps when you get 3 minutes. Again, a Tony Khan issue. Lady B asks if you have seen it. What do you think about the whole CM Punk Zoe Stark interaction from Comic-Con being talked about on Twitter? I think that people look for any reason to say negative things about CM Punk. Not that he doesn't deserve a lot of the things, because he brings them on himself. But I think in this situation, they're just looking for reasons to be mad. And the person I saw it from was an AEW fan site. So I believe that they kind of already just hate on anything WWE does. And they're use that as...
I don't know anything about this, so I can't speak to that.
So there was a thing at Comic-Con. Zoe Stark was asked a question. CM Punk put his arm around her in a friendly way. He's friends with her. He is working with a lot of the younger women talent, and the person who tweeted it, or at least that I saw it from, I don't know if there's been other tweets, they were trying to be like, saying that because he's married, he should keep his hands to himself and he shouldn't. But it didn't, when I watched it, it didn't feel like he was being uncomfortable. Like I didn't, of course, I don't know Zoe, but Zoe's reaction to him did not feel like, this is creepy, don't touch me. Like, she kind of leaned into it. Like, she felt to me like watching two friends, and he was being supportive of her. That's how I interpreted what I saw. Of course, Zoe may feel differently, but based on her reaction, it felt like that's what she thought too. Like, this is a mentor. This is somebody who is helping me and he is supporting me. And he just put his arm around her and kind of hugged her. And she kind of like leaned into him a little bit. It felt friendly, did not feel like he is, as a married man, that he is inappropriately touching women or that's not the way I took it. Of course, if Zoe comes out and says that wasn't cool, obviously things would change. But just from the little clip that I saw, I felt like it was just, he seemed, because he's been doing a lot with the women in NXT, and she's obviously on the main roster, but like with Cora Jade, some of these other Roxanne, some of these women who also grew up watching AJ, and so AJ Lee is, she's talking to them and communicating with them, and then CM Punk is also like not communicating on her behalf, but it seems like both of them together are being supportive of some of these women. And so that was how I took it. I think that people just look, because of CM Punk, I feel like people are just, and again, rightfully so, CM Punk has definitely earned a lot of negativity, and some of the things that he has done, he has earned that. But in this situation, it just felt like it was an AEW account trying to start something against them. It felt like some tribalism, and then it also felt like, oh, well, CM Punk, it's CM Punk, so I have to be mad about it, is how I took it. But I could be, and so that's how I would see it. Lady B says, I see a lot of fake outrage over the video when that same outrage is given to Vince's story, so I find it all a little ironic. Yeah,
Agree.
that too. That, yes, yeah. Agree.
Lady B is wise.
Yeah, so I feel that way too. I feel like it was just, it just felt like, to me, it just felt like fake outrage. And I've seen some people talk, and I've seen quite a few people who were like, I don't see anything, like, I see this as one friend being supportive of another friend. Like, I don't feel like he was trying to violate her. He wasn't trying to make her uncomfortable. He wasn't cheating on his wife by putting his arm, like, it didn't feel like that to them. So I've seen other people who actually are fans of both companies, and they're like, you know what, I don't see this here. This is not how I interpret this video. But it felt like some fake outrage. Laurent says, what's up with the lack of time for women's matches on Rampage and Collision these days? Lots of sub 5-minute matches lately. I feel like some of it is, I think, like in Chris Statlander's case, they're just she's angry, and they're trying to so therefore she's just taking out everybody in her path to get to Willow, and she's probably pissed off that Willow has the title, and because she attacked Willow last week, and now she's getting an eliminator match. So I feel kind of like that's what they're doing with Chris, is they're just, until they can like full time, because now her winning the CMLL championship kind of changes things, because obviously that wasn't the plan going into, like, she was not supposed to, Stephanie Backer had that title, Willow was nowhere, she was not even in the picture. So that kind of, I don't know how much that changes their storylines of what they're doing with Chris. Like, of course the story is not going away, but now Willow may be gone a little bit more to go compete in Mexico or on other shows, so then that kind of changes what Chris is doing. So now you have that. Does that mean she should be doing squashes? No, not necessarily. So it does seem, and they are getting some really short matches lately, and I don't know if that's because, like, it kind of happens when he gets around pay-per-views. Like, Death Before Dishonor is obviously completely different than AEW, but I don't know. I don't really care for it, because Collision had been doing, they'd been doing 2 women's matches, or they are doing 2 women's matches, and one match gets 2 to 3 minutes, and then the other match gets 9 to 10 minutes, which I don't care for either.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have noticed it too, LaRon. And it's interesting. And so like on some of it, I try to see like looking at the storyline part of it, like, okay, I can understand why Chris is angry and she's just making examples out of people to get mad at Willow. I mean, because she's mad at Willow. And so she's just beating the crap out of everybody, kind of like, Nyla used to do. She would just beat the crap out of people because she could. It kind of feels like Chris is doing the same thing. I'm angry. I'm just going to beat the hell out of people. And I will make an example out of them so that Willow knows this is what's coming for her when she gets there. But then on the other hand, like having Thunder Rosa beat Maya World in 3 minutes. And I guess the story is Thunder Rosa's pissed off because she lost that match because somebody cheated on her behalf. I mean, on Deanna's behalf, rather. But yeah, you would think she'd get longer than 3.5 minutes. And then you have Mariah go out there and she only had like a couple minute match. I think it was it her or was it Tony? So one of them had like a really short match recently. I think it was Mariah had a short match. So yeah, so some of it I do think is storyline purposes, but sometimes it just feels like they're trying to pack too much on a card. And once again, it's the women. the women who suffer, the women who get generally, unless it's Lance Archer who just comes out and like last night, like he did the week before that.
Random. I mean, it's not that random. I think he's from there and everything.
He's from Texas and he's getting the match next. He's getting the match with Will Ospreay and Dynamite, which. So I guess, and he's gonna actually wrestle more than 3 seconds,
which I love because I love Lance Archer, but they've like underused him or not used him at all, and now all of a sudden they come out of nowhere and they're like, "It's a match you've been waiting to see." It's like, guys, they wrestled each other in Japan,
and how long ago did they wrestle each other in Japan?
I mean, it's not like I've never seen, and they were wrestling in like G1 and Super Juniors. Like, this is not news. Like, relax, calm down a little, and. You've like had Archer forever and like never ever been able to book him right.
Well, and we've talked about it how like
what he was doing last night is what he should have been doing like forever.
Yeah, and Lance Archer New Japan is different than AEW New Japan, and Lance Archer New Japan Lance Archer, I should say, has a definite like I enjoy his matches. I really enjoy
but they
that.
Don't book him very well. They just don't give him anything in an AEW. They kind of like put him out there to feed him out there a little, and then they just we don't need.
Yeah, like last night. Excuse me. He like wrestles like the local.
He was like beating up young lions. He was like,
the local talent. They didn't even
gooning it, and I was like, do this.
They didn't even say the local talent's name last night. I have no clue who it was. That's why I was writing about it. I had to put Lance Archer versus local talent because they never said the name. Usually, if it's somebody, they will pop up the name and they will say it on commentary. Nothing last night. Wow. Commentary didn't say it. Nothing popped up. So I just say local talent, which I hated having to do. And I feel like I don't like putting it because I feel like I'm writing jobber and I don't like that. So I had to put local talent because I was like, they didn't say who, and they had initials on their trunks or the back of their pants, but they were the font was kind of hard to read. And so I was like, well, I don't want to put the wrong, so I just put local wrestler because I didn't know what to put there.
Right.
And so Hassan says that he feels like Statlander and Stokely is not clicking yet. Hope things improve. I feel like they're clicking, but maybe it's just because they already had the story before with Willow, but I can kind of see where it might not be clicking just yet. But I think Stokely is a phenomenal talent, and
it hadn't been working for me until the last couple episodes. They started to work for me the last couple episodes, especially this week. Is what I would say. Like they really started to get me this. I'm like, okay, all right, fine.
So maybe they are going. Hopefully, I guess I can see why. Yeah, it might not be quite.
It took me a little while, but I'm used to because Willow's good at what she does and Stat's good at what she does, and now it's starting to make more sense.
And Stoke is good at what he does, so I think just maybe it's just making the connections with maybe doing a little bit more with it.
I think the three of them are interacting more often, and like with Renee in the mix with some of it is helping like guide them along a little better, and it's starting to click with me is what I would say.
Yes.
So, but I do understand the slow, like if you're not clicked with it yet, because it's just beginning to click with me also. Because at first I was like,
Yeah, that's a good perspective. Yeah, I can see that. So Venkin says that they, meaning Lance, I think this is meaning Lance Archer and Will Ospreay, wrestled each other legit before Kenny and Ospreay at Forbidden Door. And then Lady B says that sometimes I feel like TK forgets who's on his rosters and people get lost.
yeah.
I do too. And then it feels, some of it I try to remember, like some wrestlers have like outside things that they do.
Yeah,
and so I
yeah.
think that takes it away. And then sometimes I forget that. And I'm like, well, where the fuck is this person? And then I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's because they're like, Samoa Joe is currently off TV because he's filming something. And
Right.
so I don't, not that Lance Archer's out here, like, I don't know what Lance Archer's doing. Maybe he's out here doing something else. Maybe Lance Archer just isn't being used. I don't know. Or maybe he's, you know, some people could
Well, I think it's a little of both.
But it does sometimes forget.
I
like,
think
who's
both
on his-
things
or
can
he
be
only
true.
uses, like, he seems to only use Lance Archer when they're in Texas because that's where he's from.
Right.
So he's like, I mean, maybe Lance Archer's like, you know what?
Well, then I guess maybe he'll be on TV for the next 6 weeks and he'll actually have a chance to show people like
maybe
here.
Lance Archer's like, you know what? I'm only wrestling when you're near my.
Yeah, maybe.
Not
maybe
getting
he's
on
got a
plane.
really great
Maybe.
deal that we don't know about.
Maybe. I have a feeling that Lance Archer will wrestle wherever, but it just seems like that's what it's kind of like. It's kind of like when they only use Nyla during Pride Month.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh yeah, we have this person who fits these boxes I can check off. Let's put her on TV. Even though I am very glad that she got we've seen her a little bit more often, and I hope that we see her so much more, because as much as Britt Baker is the cornerstone of AEW's original women's roster, so is Nyla, and I would like to see Nyla get used more. And Nyla's funny as hell, which that was great when I love her
Twitter.
and love her, and so put her on TV. Bring her back to ROH. They were using her on ROH a little bit. I mean, bring her back and let her wrestle. Like, stop doing too. Nah, she hasn't wrestled. She hasn't wrestled in ROH for, like, I guess she hasn't wrestled on ROH in a few. Like, it's not been long, but like maybe a month or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. So hopefully they'll use her this weekend at tapings, since they're doing two sets, because they're doing 2 sets of tapings today, and then I think they're doing more. Like, I think they're doing 2 sets of tapings next week too, if I remember right, which is nice. So maybe we'll get some consistency on storylines because they are in one place, and so maybe cautiously optimistic that maybe we'll get some story, some consistency in our storytelling and whatever they're doing. Daza said he had to go visit someone and watch Olympics with someone, and I get back and you're still going. Well, we got finished, and then we were talking.
Up, so.
Yeah, so when we were having some conversations,
we were waiting for you to come back.
We were waiting for you to come back, and we had some really good questions in the comments, and so that led to other which those were good questions.
Yes, thank you.
They were good questions. I appreciate that. And so, and that's why we liked interacting with you guys, because you guys ask some cool stuff, and it's nice that you would like our opinions on them. Venkin says, wasn't there an injury at the Olympics or at wrestling? Oh my God. Hassan says, someone tweeted Anthony Henry versus Yuta is having a great match at the taping. I have been saying this week, I said it on the Honor Ramble podcast, and I have said this elsewhere, that I want, while JD Drake is out, because JD Drake tweeted the other day that his injury was worse than previously what they previously thought. He hasn't had a time frame. I've not seen him, so I don't know, and I haven't DM'd him to ask. I don't know what his time frame is like. But in the interim, I would like them to stop using Anthony Henry, and like, he can do more than tag matches. He can do more than multi-mans. He can do single stuff. And I would love to see Anthony Henry in the pure division, because I think that he can do that style. I've watched, if you've seen him do singles wrestling, he can do that type of stuff very well. But I also joked that Anthony Henry will prove that he should probably have the title, and it will mess up their plans of whatever they're doing. But I'm hoping that, I was like, seeing him against wrestling Yuta makes me happy. So I'm hoping that will lead to some more pure stuff, and I am glad that they're using Anthony Henry more, especially when they used him. on Friday on Death Before Dishonor, because Griff Garrison, I'm not Griff Garrison, because Cole Carter is out because he had surgery. Griff Garrison doesn't really have anything to do, so they're like, we're gonna put you and Anthony Henry in a random tag match. And then Anthony Henry ate the pin.
Oh, jeez.
Like, you just brought this man back and you're going to have him eating pins? But whatever. I'm just glad they're using him. I'm so glad they're using him against Yuta, and I hope they get time because.
Well, now we know that you're onto something because you pissed Tony off. So,
well, piss him off again. Put Anthony Henry in the pure division, and then watch what happens. And then when people start wanting you to belt Anthony Henry, don't get mad at me.
There you go. I hope he keeps hate reading your articles, because you get the clicks. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Please, if you would like to go, read that. Yeah, because
although you should feel flattered because he wants to call on you so he can yell at you.
He doesn't pick the order; the moderator does. But
oh man, it appears to work.
Well, that is true. Everything is work. It appears that the moderator.
Nothing is as it seems.
Well, you know that you could be onto something because right before the call this week, it started to storm and my power flicked off for a second. It was like 2:27. I'm trying to get into the call. I'm trying to join the call, and so the internet went down for a couple minutes, and I got in at 2:31. The call started at 2:30, and so I was like, "Damn it! I don't know if I'm going to get to ask a question because I had to wait because you have to raise your hand to ask a question." And I was like the fifth person to ask a question. So maybe you are onto something. Maybe it is not the moderator. Lord, please don't. This is going to end up as a conspiracy. They're going to be like, Sam said on her show. I don't know the order. I don't know how they pick things.
If they're listening this late into our show and they start that, then I'm all about it. And I'm going to make Mike.
It might have just been an
Mike Gilbert ask memes about it.
Or I was like, they probably pick me because they're like, oh, she's one of the 12 people who actually does watch Ring of Honor every single week, and she tweets about it.
And she has the stopwatch.
So yes, and she has the stopwatch.
You have
so that
means against you. He's gonna. Tony's mad and he needs to yell at someone. Stephanie Shipley.
Who's this? Because the only I have to come up with you have to put an organization down there. I'm like, Daily DDT, can you just pretend that you got a writer? Stephanie Shipley, so I can keep using you as the organization because you have to obviously represent an organization. You have to have an organization that you represent to be on these calls.
To be credentialed.
So I have to talk to my editor and be like, if somebody asks, you do have a Stephanie Shipley that writes for you. Her articles just get published under Samantha Shipman. Don't look too far into it. Don't bring too far into it.
I had to change it for the SAG.
Right.
Oh man.
All right.
I think we've kept them running way, way long enough.
Yes. I was say, and with that, I think we should probably go ahead and go.
And we do have, if you saw in the chat here earlier, we do have, since he blew it up himself, the Spider from CCW will be joining us next week to talk about his new film and to talk about working with CCW. And so more CCW, more local wrestling, get some CCW talent on here. So if you guys remember when Cat Daddy was on, he did drop the tease about this film. So we're going to check out the film and we're going to talk to Spider next week just about.
And we'll post the link to it to our account so that you can check out.
It's only like 11 minutes, and
you can check out the documentary before the show. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And Venkin says it's him. He's that wrestler.
One day, Daza, one day. You will be our surprise guest, and it'll be a total surprise to you.
It'll be a total surprise to everybody. Make sure that you, obviously, we're really bad at plugging this. Make sure that you follow Fight Game Media on YouTube, and that because there's all kinds of cool shows on here, and then also, and you can follow City Championship Wrestling on YouTube. You can follow Ashe Wrestling on YouTube. You can search for the Muppets, maybe. on this particular site.
And if you don't
and
get
then
that, just start this video over and you'll be all set.
and then you also have, obviously, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find shows like The Wrap. And there's also, so if you are a WWE fan, they've got some great stuff for you. There's all kinds of great wrestling content from the Fight Game Media Network here and wherever you listen to podcasts. We are YouTube exclusive. That's the only place that you can find us. But
Because we're
we are
that
here.
special.
Yes. And we will be back next Sunday at 1:00.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone in the chat. You rock.
Yes.